God.
That was an experience.
Tell me what happened. How was it? Was it very, very leftist?
Well, yeah, absolutely, but it was, I don't know. I don't want to be cynical, but it reminds me of it's like an adult version of kindergarten.
Jesus.
I don't know. I just wasn't very impressed with the student body, should we say.
Was everything really like they're very, very parenting in the way that they're teaching now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they
Oh,
talk to
absolutely.
they even, and you're in graduate school.
Yeah. Well, this year I'll get my bachelor's degree, and next year's the honors. But yeah, even the presentation slides as well. It's almost like it was written on. It doesn't feel like it's professional language. It felt like it was SMS text.
Jesus.
There was no use of punctuation. You know, other things, just typical things you would do. But yeah, it's a rather strange place.
Yeah, they started doing that right when I was finishing up school, and I wasn't even paying attention as much as I would have been now. It must be horrible. That must be really annoying.
I think they realize the AI is coming. It's just on the horizon, and I think a lot of these universities will simply just cease to exist. I don't think they have.
Oh wow! Yeah, people are actually watching, which is funny because we didn't even tell anyone. That's nice of them. Hello, Esme and Alien Big Cats. But it's interesting you say the lack of punctuation, and I think you were. What was the first thing you said about the way the syntax they were using? Is it similar to how like the Chat GPT is talking? Because I've been noticing some of the younger generation start talking like chat. Like it sounds like they're using those phrases like I don't even know how it's like the transitional phrase in between when they're like about to see if you want them to answer another question for you. That's how the kids are talking. They're saying like the exact phrase GPT will use or Grok will use.
Yeah, they use very similar phrasing as well, but it's similar to that. It's almost very conversational.
Yeah.
In its writing, it doesn't it's almost like you're speaking to an AI.
Yeah.
When you're reading firstly when you're conversing with them, and when you're reading the presentation slides, for example, they would start paragraphs with "so," but then they would after "so," which itself you usually don't start a paragraph with "so," but they because that's a conjoining word, but you would put a comma after "so," but no, there was no comma. There was no comma after "however," just little things like that. And the way it was written, it just was to me it's insufferable. And also when I'm going about the campus, I keep hearing this strange, overly sincere, obnoxious elongation of vowels, this type of accent that has become almost indicative of the West, which is again, it's like AI. It wants everything to be very clinical and not necessarily something that draws attention or acts in a way that could actually pose some sort of offense to the person. So everything is very sterile, and I mean you see that across the West, but you're seeing it with their even their conversational topics as well. So they'll say it's almost like that, that Hollywood-esque. Oh God, what do they call it? It's like the overly inflect every vowel.
Is it like they have the like the Valley Girl type of speech?
The Valley Girl, it's exactly that, but it's like with a Scottish accent.
That's insane. I couldn't imagine what that's like.
Oh, it's very annoying. And just some of the things they would be speaking about, like it's just.
What do they talk about? I'm curious because I haven't been around
very mundane things.
Is it just like what's on Twitter?
Yeah, Yeah, or they don't bring up politics. Again, it's all very sterile topics, which is weird because you're in a university. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying everyone should be constantly speaking about, civic topics and politics or anything like that. But it's almost like they don't have any, from those that I interacted with today, it's like they don't have any inkling of any higher, um any inkling of, elevating their what, their topics, or what they would discuss, or what they're looking at, or what they're pursuing. They have no real yearning for knowledge. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's kind of what happened. Well, at least in 2020, it felt like it made it very hard, or it was going to become very hard, at least for people to set goals for themselves. And I could see that being a thing that's already infected the mind of so many of the younger kids, especially, where they don't have a goal, so they're kind of just going through the motions.
That's what I've noticed as well. Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to say that I have much faith in the younger generation anyways, to have goals to begin with. But even the ones who are going to, it seems like now it's just more of a reason to just keep going through the motions and not ask any questions of anyone or anything. Their life plans basically set out for them.
Yeah, and it's weird as well because, well, I'm working class, right? And I mean, you can just hear in my...
And in UK, is that where you are, at least you're in Scotland right now, right?
Yeah.
Is middle class, because I know when like Thomas Sheridan talks about the middle class, it's different than it is in the United States, because middle class is like what you guys, I guess, consider lower class, I guess, or right?
Working class would be the US equivalent of middle class.
Or working class, that's it, yeah, working class, that's what he calls it.
Yeah, but so what we are sort of discussing is more the upper middle class, the managerial gentry of the society. Yeah. And they're, of course, their children that they're putting through a university. But it's just, Jesus. It's the problem is as well, I think, with a lot of these kids, because their father or their parents are so wealthy, it doesn't really, they're just simply going to this place because, again, like what you're saying, they're going through the motions of the society. This is just the rite of passage. It's what you do. And moreover as well, they have no, unlike me, I mean, I have to pass this. If I don't pass this, I'm basically back to square one. And any potential socio-economic goals are down the drain. But they don't have that same pressure, I don't think. So
because they're generationally wealthy, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was speaking to one guy, and he was saying, so I said to them, I said, have any of you guys been, so I'm involved in construction, and that's what all of this is vocational, right? It is academic, but I'm learning vocational skills, or at least I hope I am. And anyway, I was talking to the table that we were working in. It was sort of group work, right? We're all working in groups. So I was talking to the other guys at the table, and they look they're like the stereotypical prep school kids, I think would be the US version of it, right? And yeah, like upper gentry, and he's part of the rowing team, and he's
oh god, that's bad. Yeah, rowing team, that's so serious money.
The guy's like very cliched. And I said to them all, I said, have any of you guys been on a construction site before? And they all said no, bar, of course, this one guy. And he says, and he said it in the most really stuck up accent, right? So obviously I'm putting on an accent right now just so you can understand me, but I have quite a thick accent in my normal conversational speech. And he was like, yes, my father I'm trying to put this on because it's so alien to my speech. But yes, my father took me to Dubai, and yeah, we had a site visit at the site he was working at. I said, so what were you doing on the site? Oh, just walking about and that. Right. Okay. So you weren't really on a construction site, but this is the problem is I can actually see it, and I can see why they're eventually going to replace all these managerial gentry with the AI,
They don't have a
because
choice.
they have no choice.
Yeah.
These people are so detached from basically how things work, how the system actually functions. They have no vocational knowledge, any experiential knowledge. It's all based on academia, right? And again, that was something that the corporations were quite happy to do, right? They were quite happy to outsource their training to the universities, simply because, well, one of the main factors or one of the main liabilities and cost incurrences in any business is, of course, training and all of this. So if you outsource that, you're immediate in the immediacy in the immediate fiscal environment, you're lowering the cost, right? You're lowering labor cost. But of course, you have these issues, right, where you get people coming out of university and they just have no clue. They've
Yeah.
never worked in the environment, so they've got no experiential knowledge to back up this vapid, theoretical, academic, hogwash, basically.
And now we're at a place where they're not going to have anything to do for work, and then the people, we're also like racing against the clock with seeing if well, not us, but the people trying to do this are going to be racing against the clock, seeing if they can get enough AI to do things that these graduating children can't do. And that's going to be probably where the problem comes in, because we're not going to be able to do everything. We're not going to be able to get everything done.
Yeah. And this ties back into the logical conclusion, there's really the zero-sum game of managerialism. And that is, like what Spengler stated in The World City, and even the life cycle of civilizations, of, as he called them, cultures, is that the culture has a metaphysical idea, and once it reaches that logical endpoint of the metaphysical idea, once it takes it to its terminus point, once it squeezes every last bit of life and inspiration out of it, then it reaches this point where it's like what you're saying, they're going through the motions. It's basically they're I think the West is honestly in a death spiral. I don't really see any sort of tangible inspiration or any tangible vision within the young people, and I think that's what terrifies me the most. And believe you me, I'm quite young as well. These guys are about 19. I'm 29, so I'm slightly older. I'm the generation above them, but it's still quite terrifying,
And then it's interesting because, damn, I don't even know if I want how much of this I want to even say on here. I was at doing a job, I'll just say recently, and these guys had a lot of money, right? And they are actually, you could see that what they talk about, they're very obsessed with life extension. So these are the older guys out of college. You have money, and very unhealthy in certain ways healthy, but let's just say a lot of recreational usage of drugs and things like that. And all they could talk about is life extension. That's like the technologies they want to invest in. They're hoping the AI figures out life extension. They're investing in life extension companies. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, this is like what we were talking about with the trans thing. It's like they're destroying their bodies, and they're so, instead of concerning themselves with fixing themselves now, they're hoping they can just basically buy themselves an extended future and it's just contributing to all of this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, at the end of every civilization, you'll always get the YOLO idea taking hold. That becomes the literal guiding mantra of the civilization, you know. So you make merry today because essentially you will be dead tomorrow. But then you get into these. Even the Chinese tried it, right? These elixirs of immortality and all of this. People will try anything, especially when they're reaching the end of that sort of civilizational arc, and at the point where they're not. See, this is the very strange thing about all of this. They've actually overcome death, meaning that individuals within the cities, and again, everything's really now a city. There's no rural folk culture. That's been pretty, pronouncedly hammered out of the civilization. Um, what what you're really seeing is that they no longer beget sons and beget a legacy. They simply seek to build, similar to that Ozymandias poem of Percy Bysshe Shelley, right? They're building these fallible, perishable statues to their own their own perceived infallible egos, right? And they've also moved away from procreation and reproduction, just overall. So what they're focusing on is themselves, is the extension of themselves as a means of almost filling the void of this natural, what would otherwise be a natural inclination to procreate, to breed, to carry on one's legacy. So again, they have no fear of their legacy dying, but in
Yeah.
a weird way, it constantly crops up. This is why they pursue immortality.
Yeah, and
This,
the
yeah,
knowing of themselves is not knowing of themselves truly. It's like you're saying, extending themselves physically. It's just it's bizarre. Like what I was recently when I was observing it, I was just like people having conversations with their AI on their phone about how to handle relationships or talk to people, like asking the AI, and then writing notes to the AI that they were going to say on a video instead of just like it's not even like a voice note. Like they're asking the AI to remember it and then say it back to them, fix what they're saying. It's just like it's really like using AI to create subsidiaries of yourself that are ultimately just for show on the internet until the internet implodes.
yeah, yeah. It's I think as well a lot of with AI, what you're actually seeing is it's the lit that this is the next milestone, and it really all surrounds the city, right? That this is what civilization is. Civilization from the root, civis, in Latin, it's literally city, and this is what you also see after the French Revolution and the Enlightenment era. We were no longer known as subjects or serfs or whatever it may be, or countrymen or compatriots. We were known as citizens, right? Citizens, again from that same root, literally meaning city dweller. So the whole of the nation was considered citizens, right? The city dwellers. So
Mm-hmm.
we're all
Mm-hmm.
city dwellers. And really, the AI is just the next logical step in destroying again, as Spengler mentioned, the plant-like substance, the essence of the land and of the blood. Um, that really is sacrificed upon the altar of progress, or what is at least perceived as progress, in those detached and hollow heterotopias, right? These nightmarish worlds within worlds, and of the cities, and so the AI. What you're seeing with the AI is it's almost where we've become so mad, but everyone has become equally as mad. So we don't actually, we're not fully cognizant. We haven't realized that we are, in fact, embroiled in madness, right? This is the maddening thing about it. And the
Yeah.
AI is essentially the projection of our own shadow, the conjuring of our own ghosts. And we are, every day, taking advice from them, taking counsel from them. We are consorting with them. And again, it really is just an extension, I think, of our own neuroses. Is it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, I really don't. I don't see anything good coming out of AI.
No.
I just don't think it's a. I don't
Well,
think it's a good thing.
you know, it's interesting too. You say how we've become how these names of what we are has changed. It's almost like we're all patrons. We're all on Patreon. It's like we're all patrons. We're all people who give money to and support a entity, which is the AI.
Oh yeah, and do
Yeah.
you notice everything in society is now being like we're all sacrificing for AI now. And
Yeah.
and for
So instead of the
example,
city, it's the AI. We're the patrons,
exactly,
and instead of a citizen, we're a patron.
exactly. Well, in the UK, for example, they're not telling people this, but the reason we have higher energy bills here now, and they're constantly increasing, is because the data centers that they're building. That's
Yeah.
why.
Oh, the only great thing about that is that that is the one thing you can say, oh, I mean, it's not going to work because you know how the mind of the woke, insane person who follows the 2030 agenda thinks they'll just find a way to double speak around everything. But at least right now, every time someone's tried to bring up a climate type of thing with me, and I ask them about, well, what about the data centers, the AI data centers? They don't say anything. They have nothing to say back to that right now because it's so insane how much energy they use
Oh
that it
yeah.
actually wipes out any argument that should be logically made, or that they should logically be able to make about man-made climate change. The fact that they have these data centers, it should totally negate it. But it's I know it's not going to. They'll just find a way to wrap around some other type of double speak around that.
Absolutely. And see, this is the issue. This is why AI is different from all other discoveries. AI itself, and studies have been taken in this regard, where they find that individuals who, use AI, uh, well, they overuse it, let's say, right? And what it found, and I think there's been like 4 or 5 studies that's it's shown the same sort of repeatable pattern, which is
Hmm.
that they have lower attention span, lower focus. Their memory, they have memory loss.
Yeah,
So,
I saw
yeah,
that study recently. That was really bad.
they also have other attention issues that develop, behavioral issues that develop. They appear to have less abstract thoughts. So they tend not to think outside the box. They tend to, in fact, think inside the box if they're even thinking at all. So it literally is a cognitive killing weapon. That's what AI is, and I
Yep.
think a lot of people aren't understanding that. And within the wider society, again, see, once these data centers build themselves up. And the AI, of course, demands more and more and more storage, more and more information and data to thus, eventually become an ASI, which is artificial superintelligence. You know, going through the intermediary process of AGI, or artificial general intelligence. So it will be a stepping stone to the machine god, should we say? But eventually, if you just extrapolate this out again, you simply have to project it linearly. Eventually, the cities themselves will be just simply data centers, huge data centers.
Mhm,
Once
mhm.
humans are replaced as the means of production, why the hell would you need all of these dwellings? You would just convert them into data centers, more storage area for data.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, and the issue is as well, eventually, again, project that long enough, the trajectory of travel of that that notion is essentially the entire planet is swallowed up. That is, the entire planet is exploited and destroyed ecologically, God, what, in every way, really,
Yeah.
by these data centers and by AI and by, this attempt to create the machine God. The problem is that's an outgrowth as well of, again, as Spengler stated, this metaphysical idea that is at the heart of the sort of utilitarian view of the world that's present within the Anglo-American culture, let's say, right? What we understand as the West. And it's this idea of um, the Faustian dilemma and also the Faustian bargain, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Again, it's like what you were mentioning with these guys who they they're seeking, they have lots of money and they're seeking life extension, immortality, essentially, right? The
Yeah.
elixir vitae. With Faust, it was a similar bargain he made, but he wanted knowledge. Of course, not with knowledge, eventually comes immortality, right? If you have all knowledge, then again you can extend your lifespan. It's the same thing with the AI. Literally, AI is making a deal with the devil. It's no different than what you read of in Doctor Faust by Goethe.
Yeah.
So it's no different.
And you want to know something interesting because it's almost like there's a little bit of, well, I think we probably both would agree there is a spiritual aspect to it that's dark. And one of the guys had told me that I was working with, because when he's talking about this, he's just spitting things out of me, and I'm just kind of, I'm trying to film for something. So I'm like listening, hearing what I'm hearing, and listening to what I can while I'm setting up. But he mentions how one of their neighbors who had, like, this is a really wealthy part of Los Angeles that they're in. He's like, the way he made his money was he had a dream to invest in this one life extension company. So he did that like 20 years ago. No, what the hell is that? Like, what? You're telling me he became a millionaire because he had a dream? What kind of dream was that?
Oh yeah,
What entities are behind that dream?
oh yeah, it's a fever dream.
That's wild, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like the company wasn't a known company that he invested in. It was like he just had a dream to invest in this. Fuck it. That's like the stories you hear, usually just opposite, where they're like being abducted by some sort of entity and being told not to do something, or to talk about aliens and tell everyone about aliens and that we're coming. The Palladians are coming. But no, this guy had a dream to invest in a life extension company and became a millionaire. Now that's like more like what when I think about these bloodline families that are holding knowledge and have held knowledge through various cycles of civilization. That's more of like, that's more along the lines of the type of entities I think they would be worshiping if they do worship anything other than themselves.
oh absolutely. Well, the thing is, I mean, even again, this all stems from the cities, right? Even if you look at some of the theories of why man moved from hunter gatherers, or a hunter gatherer lifestyle rather, to agricultural civilization, right? Well, agriculture at least, which eventually became civilization, became cities and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it actually makes no sense.
No sense.
Why did they make that transition? Because in fact, the agricultural lifestyle, at least from its primitive point, is actually far more difficult, barring certain, uh, naturally irrigated geographical areas, right? For example, the Fertile Crescent, and even, of course, the Nile Delta, and all along the Nile as well in Egypt. But bar those places, really, there's not many areas that are, they don't lend themselves easily to primitive societies and for an agricultural settled lifestyle. So why did they make the transition? There's one theory that I heard recently, and it's the idea that so if you look at places like Göbekli Tepe, these places eventually they started off as priestly sites, religious sites for hunter-gatherers. And the hunter-gatherers, of course, would band together. There would be cooperation, and they'd build these sites, right? Again, this is just one theory. And so they'd build these sites, and they would have a nomadic or pastoralist lifestyle. But they would come back to this area, and they would, it was sacred ground. There'd probably be a sort of parleys there if there was, if there was war between tribes, or the tribes would keep the peace in this area, right? It's hallowed ground.
Yeah.
Eventually, as time drew on and population growth occurred, there was priest classes that developed in these sites, right? And they became the first kings, if you will, right? They became the first managers, the first bureaucrats, the first city builders. And these sites that were previously religious sites became the first cities. So in fact, religion, and the city are intertwined. The priest class is the hidden power behind the king. That is the hidden power, the hidden hand, but behind basically all of human history. Because again, you need civilization to create formalized history, and of course to rewrite history and to do all of this. All of the social myth is built around this. All of the concepts, all of the abstractions are built around basically the priest class and their development of the city from that of the primitive religious sites, right? These little shrines, and then that developed into temples and so on and so forth. So basically, this is why societies themselves function as religions. They are a cult. Right? Your cult, a culture, right? It's written into the language itself. The way that they function is clearly along, a sort of a religious bent, right? We have a social myth, we have pious fictions, we have noble lies. All of these false memories really color the society itself. So again, where did the priest class get this idea of civilization? Was it something that they just, one of them developed and then it caught on? Or were they in, again, were they consorting with
Something
else that provided them the pattern of civilization, which they then violently foisted on, by the way, and coerced man into?
Yeah.
It makes you wonder.
Well, and that's sort of like I just did that show, and Nathaniel Gillis says what he sort of, at the root of his message, it seems like that's what he sort of is getting at, I think, as to having happened. He basically sees like the idea that these altars are some of the earliest things that we find are just it's just more evidence to what you were just saying, that they were consorting with something that inspired them to do, lead us to where we are now.
Oh yeah. Even this idea of time. Time is something that, again, civilizations are built on abstractions, meaning abstractions are those which are not necessarily, they can be based on nature, but they're not necessarily natural per se. They're essentially man's attempt to morph nature or constrain nature to his own thinking, right? So time itself is an abstraction, right? It's something that we require. It's civilizational men and women, we require time. You need to schedule things. Again, this all comes back to the harvest. Agriculture, it's all based around the seasons. It's all based around time. But time itself is an extension of the seasons. It's an extension of even the solar cycle, because what you're getting to with time is you're looking at the detailed moments, moment to moment. In the sand, those grains of sand pass through the eye of that hourglass. That's what you're focusing on. And again, as we see in civilization, you end up getting lost in the abstractions. As the civilization, trundles along and progresses ever forward into history, into time, it begins to build up these abstractions to such a degree that it divorces itself from any semblance of nature. This is why, of course, we have androgyny now, right? This is why we have the fundamental belief in society that you can actually change your gender. You can fundamentally change your biological characteristics, right? And of course, it's why we have transhumanism, right? You can fundamentally transcend the limitations of the human condition, and be it physical, mental, or psycho-spiritual. All of these ideas are abstractions. They don't exist in nature. Nature has not provided us any evidence to support the idea of transhumanism, right?
Yeah, no,
As a
not at all.
possibility. So it's coming from somewhere else. It makes you wonder,
And man, I start thinking of, because it gets strange with the myths, because you could almost relate the idea of the transhumanists to various myths, obviously, but especially when you think of like the gods, like the god of time, Cronus, but Cronus chopped off his father. What was it, Uranus? He chopped off his member, his genitalia. But which one was Cronus was the one who was also trying to eat his children, right? And then his children burst out from him. So my question is, like, do they worship time, or are they trying to destroy time? Which one are they? Are they the Titans, or are they Cronus, or are they actually Uranus? Like, which one of these three do they consider themselves? Because it's obviously there's something, there's either a worship of time or a desire to destroy time going on here.
Well, the reason Kronos, that metaphorical myth, the reason Kronos ate his children is because the idea is, what it's conveying is that time itself understands that time will destroy itself. If, again, it's all very self-referential, but so even time is seeking an escape from its own pre-imposed conditions, right? So in essence, that's what they're attempting to do. All of civilization, be it, even if it, again, the West has this Faustian idea, which is its metaphysical. I think Spengler used the term soul image, right? But it's basically a metaphorical, metaphysical idea that is the crux, the driving force, the organizing principle in any given society. But any civilization wants this eventually, right? We brought up the Chinese. Chinese emperors were also seeking the elixir vitae, right? Again, they want to subvert time. But to answer the question, well, in a way, we are both the Olympians and the Titans, right? And the Titanomachy never ended, right? The war of the Titans never ended. And to really get to the crux of the matter, and to be very general about it, basically they are the Titans of Tartarus, and they are the children of this void. They worship the dweller in the abyss. Crowley called him Cronzum.
Which is like the demiurge.
The demiurge, yeah. He who projects these abstractions as facts. Farce Value, a very interesting character and thinker, he mentioned to me recently, and it's something I'd come across previously when I was reading Marx's work, but the idea of reification. And it's this idea of turning an abstraction, something that's completely artificial. Again, there's not really any evidence of it within the natural environment. You turn that into something that becomes concrete in the minds of the collective. Again, so it's the social myth. And again, this is what this demiurge does, is a principle, right? I'm not necessarily saying it's an actual entity. I think it's more a greater,
like an energetical, like almost like a conscious energy.
Exactly, bingo. And so I think that projects the illusions of the abstractions of civilization, of the city, of transhumanism, of immortality, and it has us on a loop, right? For what reason? I mean, we could speculate, but it appears that's what we're.
Part of me wonders if the reason is exactly what we just said, like to continue the cycle. Like maybe it has to, I hate saying that, but does it, or at least it's stuck in whatever sort of consciousness this energy has, is that infects probably almost all of us, if not all of us. There's something subconscious about its energy that is stuck in this idea that we have to continue this loop to continue existence.
Yeah, it's like the tumult of time has to continue, lest time die. So it's, but the thing you see with Monopoly is a prime example of this, right? If you say there's a minority, it could just be one player, but say there's a minority of players on the board who have completely monopolized the entire board. They own everything, right? They've built up, a vast property empire on every square. There's absolutely no hope of any upstart winning, of any upstart, going round the board however many times and basically toppling them from this position, this winning position. However, the winners are only the winners within the game of Monopoly. Outside of the confines of that game, they are as equal as the losers. So the way that they create this disparity is they have to ensure the game continues, that the loop continues, that the cycles continue, and the only way to do that is through ensuring that the losers can never socially deduce the fact that they can never become the winners, right? So you keep, again, the social myth, the abstractions, the projection of the lie, which at the crux of it has some semblance of the truth, right? But it projects the lie that you can win the game. But really, it's all down to getting the losers to continually go around the board. Again, looping. It's, in a civilizational sense, it's human rotational farming. That's what you're seeing with time and the harbingers, basically the priest class, this Paleolithic deep state, which appears to be in control of everything. They build up empires, they build up civilizations, they destroy them. They appear to be on a timescale of about 250 years. And it gets to the 250-year mark, and it just they pull the plug. I mean, for example, to prove that point, my first book lays out basically every single civilization in the past, well, every major civilization and empire in the past 2,000 years, and it shows this 250-year cycle, give or take, every time. And so, for example, the British Empire lasted between 1750, which was the point where the subcontinent was being colonized, and that existed until, give or take, the year 2000, right? 1997 was the point where we gave up Hong Kong, and that's pretty much the death knell of the British Empire. If we took it even further back, from the 1700s, the Queen Anne's Rebellion, or Queen Anne's War, pardon, the War of Spanish Succession, And then we moved it 250 years, we roughly get to the end, the beginning of decolonization. So there appears to be something there. America, of course, is coming up to its 250th year. And, it's still strong, but it's not necessarily looking as strong as it was maybe a century ago, right?
Yeah.
So there is a decline.
But Howard Ramberg asks, is time the result of evolution? Which I don't know how you would want to answer. I kind of think you already did, but almost like it's the opposite. Well, it's like the evolution would be the result of time.
Yes, yeah. Or evolution could be a way in which to measure time. All of the moments and again, the moments themselves are not the definable characteristic of time. And I know that sounds strange, but a moment itself is merely a drop within an endless ocean. So the moment only becomes something that's measurable, definable, in terms of time, right? If we have action within the moment, right? If we have drama within the moment, this gets into the idea of even the world itself being a world stage, a meta theater, a play within a play, a dream within a dream. Again, that's going a bit too far into the metaphysical, but it's that same idea that the demiurge, the Choronzom, the dweller in the abyss, that he who is in Tartarus, Kronos, Saturn, whatever it may be, he is projecting this belief that if they, whoever it may be, the priest class, let's just say, if they follow his commandments, they will reclaim this age of wisdom that was lost in the far-flung past. They will reclaim this golden age.
The golden age of Saturn, which I think in Slick, Gabe just put something up that was interesting, the 248-year Uranian orbit. And it's interesting specifically to me because of Crowley's worship of, I don't know if I would call it worship, but he mentions Uranus a lot. And a lot of it I think is tongue-in-cheek, but a lot of it gets into the more darker aspects of the occult. I know Tracy Twyman also mentioned the worship of Uranus in her last book, Genuflect. And it's interesting how he's saying it's contrived for math worship. That's interesting. And Gabe, if you want to join us, I sent you the link. I think Ronan's going to join us in a minute.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, Uranus is, well, for example, let's bring up the tarot cards, because me and Armin, of course, have been, we're almost at the end. It's been quite some time. I think it's been about a year, but we're almost at the end of this series. And the Tower card links with Uranus. So the Tower itself is, again, just to visualize this, if anyone is familiar with Skyrim, when you go to Sovngarde, when you look at, basically, it's actually in the lore, it's known as the Tower, the Tower of Orbis, right? The Orbis is the universe in Elder Scrolls lore. And it looks like the Greek Empyrean. That's another way of viewing this. But if you were to view it from a side profile, those concentric rings of density, right, leading up to this singular point, this monad, viewed from a side profile, it creates a tower, right? So basically, what you're seeing with that is the way that if it's not necessarily time, but the way that creation forms itself out is through this vertical spiral, right? Of again, like a storm. This is why, of course, the demiurge is throughout cross-cultural religions. Let's take, for example, Yahweh or Enki or even Uranus and Enlil. They were all deities of war and storm. Again, because time is similar to this concept. When you view it from the priest classes' ideas of how the world functions in their cosmology. So that's linked with Uranus as well. Uranus is basically this, it's the ghost in the machine. It's the repressed, vengeful spirit of the natural that upends, you know, the usurper of Kronos or Saturn, and of course upends that of Jupiter. Who and what you see throughout Greek mythology is, I think even Uranus stole the kingship from another deity. I
he
forget.
did. I think he kills one of his. Yeah, right. Doesn't he kill his father too or something?
Yes. So there's, again, what you're seeing is the world. This is the world ages. It's a metaphor for the world ages. But again, all of these things they're based upon. Again, it makes you wonder: is it even humans that are doing this? Because the world ages themselves, the processional year of, was it 25,920 years, is Isaac Newton approximated at. I mean, how human civilization, supposedly, according to official history and the records, doesn't even appear to be that old. So
Yeah.
where's it deriving these concepts from? How did it derive these concepts? All of these questions.
Yeah, exactly. And before we go any further, let me introduce Ronan. What's up, brother?
Gratitude, greetings, everyone. So much love. How you doing, everyone? How you doing, Chris?
Good, man. Sorry, I'm not as good as introductions as you are, and whenever I'm on your channel, you always give me like the hugest
Oh no,
praise, and I'm so bad at it. But
we're hanging out. We're
Ronan's the man.
family episode.
Yeah, this was last minute, or I would have sent out more invites to all you guys. Me and Silas just started talking when we hopped on. That's why we don't even have a thumbnail right now for this.
Yeah, and I never want to interrupt a rant, and yeah, man, or you know, a string of string of thought. Silas, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, doing fabulous.
Glad to hear.
Can I share some of my thoughts on what you guys were talking about?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go for it, man.
Okay. Again, I didn't want to interrupt your because you're crushing it, Silas, as always. So for context, just where I come from in my psyche scaffolding, borrowed that from Slick Dissident, but I'm using it now. It's mine now. Thank you for that gift. Where my scaffolding comes from. You know, I think about, and it's wild that Napoleon came up, right? So you have the French Renaissance era, supposed to be the time of logic and reason, right? I think that was a major turning point of destroying the past, or at least covering up the past of the happenings of this, realm. And then I don't believe anything, myths or otherwise, before the 1800s. I can't even find any documents or anything like that are pre 1800s. No scriptures of any kind.
I feel like neither can the majority of the
Yeah.
people who actually push this stuff, right? They don't have
And anything I look for, you can call it any of the Abrahamic stuff, monotheistic stuff. It's all found in the 1940s, like all of it. Okay, all of your ancient religions, and this includes the Eastern stuff, the Vedas also, y'all. Nothing. It's all was found around the 1940s. So isn't that interesting? And then shout out Moonfeather. She mentioned something about dams to me personally today or yesterday, and I was like, let me guess that dam was built in the 1960s. Absolutely, it was. So you have this rewrite. So all that to say, I'm very HIPAA-wise suspect of any old stuff. I have to relook at every single thing, knowing that, verifying is the data true or false. Because there was an absolute battle takeover, world WWF battle, worldwide federation battle between the previous kind of society in like the 1400s. We see the Al Andalus getting wrecked by Spain. Then we see in the 15, before that it was Ireland and the serpents getting removed. In the Picta people and those types, and in the Nori, the Norwegian and the Rus with the Teutonics, and then on and on, right? I think even Africa was populated during this time, and I have reasons to believe so. And then, of course, then the Americas. So there was, and that's where you have Masons. You have these guys walking, you have these old white guys walking around with like scimitars and fezzes on their hat, like I'm a shiner. And
Yeah.
you know,
It's
that was
very.
that's hijacked information, and then it's diluted and hidden, and that really f's up the conversation of time, as far as like looking for records and things like that. You know what I mean? So
Well, even Steiner said can't go back. He was even less generous than we can be sometimes. I think he said 100 to 150 years, but I'm pretty sure he was like 100-year max is all you're going to be able to accurately.
guys, 20 years things have been changing.
And I know, yeah. And I think that might be,
yeah.
I think it's going to become less and less at this point.
Yeah. So I'll just wrap up that thought with and then so what can I believe? What can I trust data wise? Well, I can look up and see luminaries. They're cymatics, in my opinion, vibration frequency in what it makes the luminaries and the wandering luminaries above our heads. Now, is that a construct of some kind? Is that somehow, does that change? Is that manipulated by some mechanism beyond my knowledge or not? So what can you trust? So I just wanted to, I said all that, Silas and Chris, just to kind of share where I'm coming from, if that makes it, very general. I just said a whole bunch of very generic stuff, but yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think probably Silas would agree that we mostly would view things very similarly in a distressful nature of the way history is written.
Bro, I see it as we're all detectives trying to solve a crime, a cold
exactly,
case.
Exactly.
And what do these criminals do? They sprinkle decoy things.
Yeah.
Throw you off the track. That's what we're doing, in my opinion.
Exactly. And sometimes the only way to do that is even look at like when we were looking at the way they say that we went from hunter-gatherer to a agricultural society. We could look at that and be like, well, why does this doesn't make sense? That's like the only thing that's like all we could really do is break things down that don't make sense in the narratives until there's nothing left to break down.
So I love, and thank you for saying that, Chris, because this is where I am now in how I do things, guys. One, I don't know anything. I'm not whatever, but what I am is an alchemist as best as I can be. Sometimes real literally, like but whether figuratively or not, boil everything down. Boil it down. And if it doesn't check out, it's off. See you later, see you later, see you later. And then whatever's left, then I'm dealing with that. You could get and any other like a call to authority of any kind. No thanks. It's meaningless to me. Depending on who it comes from. But I feel like let me get out of the way. You guys, I feel like Silas he's more eloquent than me.
Oh no, I'm in total agreement.
It's his Scottish accent, man. He speaks so. I'm jealous of it. I'm like, damn, I want to sound like Silas every time I hear him speak.
Oh, if you have if you have one of those accents, I just assume you know what you're talking about, and I just trust it without verifying it.
Yeah, it just sounds nice, Silas. You son of a bitch.
Silas, what do we sound like? Are we just American?
I've actually been lying this whole time. I'm not from Scotland. I'm actually from the deserts of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I just developed this accent by watching Monty Python and a wee bit of Braveheart.
If I was better at a British accent, I would have. The first podcast I did, I would have just came out pretending to have one. But I know I would have sounded awful very quickly. There was some. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. I was gonna say, Ronan. Yeah, no, it was absolutely fascinating hearing your thoughts on that. I agree, and you also again, it depends, but most on average, but most social studies show that human at the very most, human memory only goes back 150 years. again, that's really stretching it. And again, it depends upon, so for example, look at our own society now. People can't even recall, the majority at least, can't recall what occurred, 6 months ago. Never mind a century ago or half a century or even a decade ago, right? So there's a lot of room for revisionism that trickles down from the top. And perhaps this is where you get things like the Mandela effect as well. Perhaps it's psychologically based rather than something that's perhaps metaphysical. But there's an individual I speak to. He's a great thinker. He's from Portugal. He's a very good friend as well, called Armin Rai. And
Which Armin should come on soon, by the way. I haven't talked to him in a while because I'm never on Discord anymore, but I don't know if he has Telegram. We should, I know I sent him the invite at one point, but definitely get him on here soon.
Yeah, he has WhatsApp. I'll send you his details, and yeah, definitely he's a great guy, great thinker.
Yeah,
he has this idea called the blueprint model, and essentially what he states, he's of the opinion as well that it's shorter resets. Now he gave me I was in Lisbon recently, visiting him, and he gave me a very good reason why he chooses the shorter term reset model over the longer term reset model, which is what I err on the side of. But again, it could be either or, right? I forget the reason now, but it was very compelling. In fact, it was so compelling that I was in a sort of collective state of disbelief and shock, and I was like, "Wow, I didn't think of it that way," and it makes total sense, right? But this idea of the blueprint is that basically everything that we're seeing within history, within society, all of the cultural, the cultural milestones, the rhythm of society, all of it is basically, in a way, it's based upon blueprints. It's not exactly the same, right? Like as Mark Twain mentioned, history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. It's based off a blueprint. It's just they change it for geographical factors. They change it along cultural factors or social factors, and other such factors, right? But essentially, it's this idea of the city establishing these self-same social myths throughout history to exploit humankind, right? To exploit them based upon energy, based upon establishing that drama, which the theatre of the city, the theatre of even the cosmos requires, right? And this is why you see in Kabbalah, they have this idea of the Merkaba, and that's actually cropped up recently in a few major events. We won't go into this here, but obviously this is going up to YouTube, so it's certainly not safe for YouTube to mention that. But
my YouTube's been very ignored by the AI for some reason, but I shouldn't say a word because now I'm gonna get hit.
Yeah, don't jinx
I'll get hit.
yourself, man.
I'll get hit immediately, but they haven't hit me at all for anything yet, and I have no idea why, because we've been now for a few months, all of us live streaming randomly on here, saying anything that we want, and not even a freaking banner ad yet. Which I'm shocked we haven't got a banner ad.
You've been doing the intellectual equivalent of flipping the bird at the big corporation.
Yeah.
Silas, can you finish that thought? Because I was really digging it. I want to add to it. I feel like.
So the Merkaba is the chariot. That's what it means in Hebrew. So basically, the cosmos is built around this idea of the chariot, and that's what it states in Kabbalah. The cosmic structure is a chariot. So basically, think of the demiurge or even the city, the priest class, as the charioteer. They hold the reins of power. The reins, are whipped back and forth. They steer the fleet of horses, right? They are essentially, the reins are a metaphor for the propaganda that the priest class, the charioteer, exerts upon the fleet of horses, the steeds, and of course we are the horses, right? By the way, this is why you even have the term manager. So manager itself comes from the Italian mangiere, which literally means stable master or the master of horses. This is why we live in neighborhoods. You have a name. I mean, there's literally about 24 or so major legal terms, social terms, which link humans to horses. So this appears to be built upon Kabbalistic lines, this idea of humanity, of the citizen, of even the managerialist class in the managerialist regime.
Stability. Keep the stability going.
To keep the wheel going, yeah, exactly. To keep that stability of the motion.
Stable, the stables.
Yeah.
I'm just adding to your words.
The stables, yeah, bingo, yeah. So it's all built around that. Yeah. Keep everything stable.
You made me think of something, Silas, and I don't want to get dark, but I'll use this as an example. It is a little sloppy, the psyops, and they're covering things up in a way, and the theater and all that. But it's sloppy, right? And I feel like a lot of people have ignored, like your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. They just, if you were to talk to them, they're ignoring things that were happening, right? Because the world's a stage, and it reminds me of, like, when there's a family, and let's say one family member harms another family member, everyone might turn a blind eye to that because it's really heinous, right? Don't talk about that, and then you just move on. So with that as an example, at the local, in the stables level, extrapolate that out. So when they are doing their stuff, I mean, stuff's been so blatant, I mean, gosh, pick any event that has gotten attention, in the 60s and 50s and before that. I mean, there's so many things right in people's faces, but the power of that I don't know if it's power of suggestion or insert, I don't know, but it's like, you don't look behind, don't even see that. And then it really, dude, these people got, with all their experiments on people, literal ones, they know how to manipulate people on the mass psychosis.
Yeah.
They're so good at it, and they're not even good at it because we probably sit back and go, dude, we see you. But you go, there's a couple billion people that pretend they don't see the strings or whatever, or whatever the event.
Well, these occult families are like the fathers and mothers of psychology, and they made psychology into a science, even though it's all made up. Like all the diagnoses are made up.
Dude, that
based on opinions.
Analogy, Chris, that horse analogy, and forgive me for interrupting. I'm just really excited right now for this because a lot of things, my synapses are firing off. The horse analogy, the manager, the horse, the neigh managers, those horses want to run free, and they probably could. They could probably kick that gate and go run free, but it's like fear of the wolves, fear of not getting fed, fear of the protection that the manager provides, and trauma and all this. They break a horse, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
To the point where no chains are. When you break a horse, which is you try and ride it, they're naturally like get off, and eventually you break them. No real ropes or chains are needed if you got them enough.
If you got them trained.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting too, this horse weave that we're on, because yesterday I shared this in a few of the chats, this link to the Etruscan demon Charon, Charun or Karun, because originally I think it was Thomas Sheridan was on his Telegram talking about the Karens, as in like, the today's modern equivalent of the Karen archetype of these women running around that they call Karens. But I was mentioning how it was an Etruscan demon, a death demon, and this death demon is like a version of it is said to have delivered the newly dead to the underworld by horseback or chariot. So there's another connection again to the horseback and chariot, and I believe that the Karen demon eventually becomes Karan's own. So we get back into the god of time again.
Yeah.
So I want to bring this up with the car. Kara is everywhere. That is of the old world and mostly will be demonized. If you look, you will see car references everywhere. There's a reason for that, and there's a reason. It reminds me of there's a reason why it's it's represented carrying as a demon, right? Of course, you want to demonize the people you took everything from, and I'm talking realm wide.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just had a weave the other day, just found some more connections. But yeah, so when you want to look at remnants of the previous civilization, all you got to look at is variations of the word car, like insert different spelling. C's are an addition. So you have car. Okay, so like you have Cara, right? The Carl. You have Carolinas. You have Carls and Charles. You have Korea. You have it's everywhere. And so, of course, when I hear words like that, and I also hear a quote unquote evil attachment to it, it's very common, and that's why.
Yeah. No, I think Karan, I think is the name of the.
Look up the Carians, y'all. Hey, I'm sorry, Kurt. Everyone, if you're interested, look up the Carians. That was an actual people. They happen to be seafaring. And
Well, that's what I was like. I was just going to mention something similar to that. The Karen
and the ferryman, dude.
The ferryman. There. That's it. That's what I was going to mention. The Greek ferryman is Karen.
I didn't even think about that, bro.
Yeah.
So when they're seafaring.
Yep.
They see far, and then you add the Greek suffixes because the Sioux were the serpent people. Sioux, Zoo, insert however you want to spell it. So the Sephardic, the dick part. I'm not trying to be weird. That's a suffix. So when you have suffixes, it's the modern Greek to help cover up the seafaring people, aka the Carians, aka the Mar, the Murrer, the Masons, etc. And all of these people, the Sioux, everyone interacted across the realm. And I'm not talking 100 million years ago. I'm talking about like 200 years ago. You know what I mean? They've been getting defeated on and on. So, sorry, Chris, I hope I'm not being rude when I interrupt. But
no, you're fine, dude. That's all. That's the only place I was going with it.
Yeah, it is just building and building, dude. Yeah.
I was gonna.
Go ahead,
I
Silas.
was going to also mention as well. Now
the Pelagoose, the pale. Oh, Silas, Chris, don't let me go on my pale rant, dude. My pale and the Pelagoose and they're all the same. They're all the same people. Sorry, Silas.
The Pelagians. Yes. Well, I think I have notes on that somewhere. But just really briefly. If you look at so you have Karen and I think the Etruscan Karen was also I think that was borrowed from the Greek Karen. They were the psychopomp, the ferryman of the underworld.
The Etruscan winds up being a little bit different, and there's a very few strange depictions of it where it almost does. Like at least resemble the modern archetype of today, like today's Karen that people are talking about all the time, but very, very rare depictions of it in that way. But go on, sorry.
It's weird as well because in the Etruscan language, they believe that this Karen, again, if it was actually the originator of this name, that it may have originated from Thusna, meaning first, and or Lev, lion, of course, Greek Leon.
Yeah.
And then that later developed. It was all amalgamated into Zarun, Zaru, or Karen, Karu, However it was pronounced in Etruscan, we're not really quite sure. But it's interesting because if you look at these labubus, have you seen these things? Oh my God. Yeah. The new fad. It's interesting because labubu is actually from the Babylonian Labu myth. And Labu, it literally means a raging one or lion. So we have that same connection. But it's also a prototypical form of Tiamat, the deep or Tartarus.
Before you go further, past the lion, there was I know I shared this in a few different rooms too. The Tomb of the Blue Demons. The Tomb of the Blue Demons. It's called. And in this tomb, I forget. I think it's in Italy. They have a blue demon on the wall. It's almost like it's holding the twin snakes, like the Rebus does sometimes, like Ishtar does. So Ishtar is connected often with the lion, and the blue demon is actually. It also reminds me of like an avatar, and it's wearing a dress. It's a male deity wearing a dress in the underworld. So there's a lot of demiurgic kind of ties there as well. I just wanted to mention that before we brush past the lion connection, because it just seemed like it was an Astarte or Ishtar sort of reference.
And the symbolism as well, the blue. So, for example, you see a lot of Hindu gods and deities that have blue skin. The blue skin appears to be, whenever that occurs, it appears to symbolize the infinite, the vastness, the all-pervasiveness of of the cosmic rulers, the cosmic principles of even the cosmos itself, right? And the idea of you see it a lot in the tarot of the double stick, the double candlesticks rather. That relates to this notion of the duality of all things, of the notion that both creation and destruction will meet they will meet simultaneously at this finite end of wherever that may be. But from the burn and melting wick, right, this wax, this fat, that will congeal, and it simply is awaiting once more for that primal fire once again. You see the same thing, by the way, this same symbolism in that of Bowie's Black Star. You see the same idea of the fat or the wick or the wax in Fight Club, right? Remember, they're making soap. It's all surrounding this idea of soap. And soap, of course, is used for purification and cleaning and all of this. But soap is a very big theme in that film. And where do they get the fat from to create this soap? From obviously liposuction, which is this idea of the waste and the narcissism of consumerism. So again, all of these things, all of these symbols appear to be intertwined, Yeah, and by the way, I saw Armin was in, and I know you said he wanted to listen. I don't know if should I have introduced him? I thought he was just listening for a while. That's why I was waiting for him to say something. But since Gabe's here too, I'll say, what's up, Gabe? Look this in. Hello. What'd you say, Silas? Well, sorry, I was just saying he's listening. Sorry, please.
Yeah, tell him to rejoin whenever. But everyone say hello to Slick. Slick, say hello. I'm going to grab my camera so you're not the only one on screen. Give me a second. You guys go ahead.
Right on. Big love and respect, everybody. How's my audio?
Perfect, man.
Lovely. Silas, I am so excited to weave with you. And don't let me forget to say, what's up to Ronan? You ain't no chopped liver, bro. You ain't no chopped liver. What's up, Ronan?
Pleasure to have you, man.
Yeah, massive love. Yo, well, I get most of my stuff from Slick, so now he's here, so I got to come up with original material now.
I'm gonna keep you on a short leash, bro. Running around.
But massive love, and I feel such incredible. I have goosebumps. Such incredible power right now. Lunar eclipse last night, and we got 4 legends.
Yeah,
the chat full of legends.
Yeah, buddy.
Just massive love, and yeah. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to point out how all of this is on the fly, y'all. I had no idea we were going to have this convening of the minds, and there is no better way to hack reality than to throw a curveball at reality. And so this convening is totally spontaneous for me. And I just got a feeling that the alignment and the timing of it is rather divine. So I'm stoked, Silas. I'm so stoked to share the mic with you, bro.
And can I tap? So real quick, someone mentioned the Pelagou or the Pelagian. I say Pelagous because I think they're the same people. But the steppe land. So when you think of the Mongolians, etc., this was a part of the major battle, in my opinion. When you think of steppes and you think Mongolians, what do you think? They're awesome horse archers. Am I right? But really, where else is there a super large plain steppe-like where there are known amazing horse archers that also love to wear feathers outfits and are also in a place not far from where Slick lives? So
Yeah,
that.
bro. Yeah, bro. Let me take it to the next level. Like,
Oh, okay,
think
go
of,
ahead.
yeah, bro. Think of how Sagittarius is shooting back over his body. It is so important that people get their Sagittarius right. I see a lot of Sagittarius shooting forward. It has to shoot backwards over itself because of what you're saying, Ronan. The reason why the Sagittarius has to shoot backwards over himself is not only because he's encapsulating xenophonic wisdom. Xenophon is the master of ride well, shoot straight, and fighting on your flank. But it's also the reason why Columbus called the people in the Americas the Indians. And that's because you go around all the way and you come back on yourself. If Sagittarius shoots well enough, he's going to hit himself in the heart because it's a loop, it's a circuit, right? So that's kind of pointing at what Ronan's saying about there were people with feathers in their hats, riding on horses, shooting well on steps. It was all it was world it was a world culture.
And what you don't hear a lot and is about the West Indian Company, right? That Dutch, those you have the East Indian Company, right? Very popular, going to India. Funny thing is, India wasn't called India at that time, folks. Okay, there was no India there. It was, but where was there in India? Where does Slick live? I think he lives in Indiana, actually. Perhaps. Where are all the Indians, the West Indians? Who are the Indians? Who are these constant Indians? That's because America is India, at least in name and a lot of these. Now, I don't know how it went down, right? I don't know if there was a major realm-wide, disaster. I think there may be, but also part of me gets into there was the battle between Genghis Khan and Prester John. Genghis Khan came across into the Americas. This is just me, guys. And they battled, and they were freaking wizards, okay? And that battle created a lot of this resetteration, depopulation. And if you look at a chart, they'll look at the mainstream chart of population growth, right? You'll go, it's basically a flat line. In the 1800s, it exploded. In the 1900s, it exploded. And now we have a few billion people, right? That's how fast our species can procreate, right? I don't look at it as like a hockey stick chart. I look at it as a wave. Their population, they get wrecked. Population, they get wrecked. In the meantime, it's like we're in the middle of a wrestling match between two. We're in the middle of two powers that have been wrestling back and forth, right? WWE style, and we just happen to be in the middle of two brothers fighting or whatever. And there's resets along the way. That's kind of my silly way. But my when I say America is Egypt, it's India, it's China. You look at Sinaloa, Mexico. That's Sino. That's where the word China comes from. You look at Catholic and all these things. So when I say these things again, it's not I'm just not just saying them. If you got 12 hours, I can sit down and go through all my data with you, and that'll be the introduction. But also with these belief systems of insert whatever your belief systems are, Greek, any type of East, any of it, right? I think the source comes from America, or at least it was also in America, right? But that disconnecting thing, right? happen and you go, well, no, Eastern stuff only came from like India and China, and Greek stuff only came from what you know is Greek now, and the Abrahamic stuff only came from what you consider the Middle East, right? No, I think there was a lot else going on, but sorry, I feel like I'm out. I'm floating right now. Maybe I need some direction. Sorry.
I got something. You know, like so often we lose accuracy when we use these general terms. Like everybody should know that when you say Greek, you are being so not specific, you know, but we use it anyways because it encapsulates a whole segment of what people think of.
Oh, Gabe, I got
place and time.
Sorry. The horses were here in America, my friend. Through the Canuck. Interesting. Your name is Canuck in Canada, and you're talking about how horses weren't here. I would recommend that horses actually originate from America.
Yeah, man. They had camels here. There were camels here.
I mean,
yeah,
sorry. I'm not. Yeah. It's not even a battle. I don't even want to battle. I'm just. I got to put it out there.
Yeah, we had the mammoths and the camels, all that. But one thing about Indiana, I just want to pick out Diana from that word. She's the lunar archer, and Diana has an important aspect of her story. Ronan, I think you'll dig this, and this. I think we're kind of coming up against it right now in large. The story of Tantalus to the Greeks involves a unholy cannibalism. A king is hosting a party for the gods and the king and the archons of the region, and he cooks up the child of one of the kings and feeds it to him and feeds it to the party. That story has a mundane derivative where it's actual humans at a party eating this child of the king. But there's another version of the story where it's actually in Olympus, where all the gods are getting together and they're eating. And it is only Diana who is contaminated with this unholy cannibalism. Diana is the one who goes crazy. She loses her mind. And I just want to say, I think this myth is propaganda to the max. And I think it is telling a certain segment of the population that you come from the gods that didn't eat the flesh of the forbidden flesh. But those people over there with Diana in their name, they are cannibals. And so that propaganda of that ancient of a myth shows us how culture wars are just the way of things. They are just the way of things. But whenever people hear Diana, I love Diana. Diana is a great symbol. But just remember, she has this dark past that unpacks for different cultures in different ways.
It's interesting as well because you see a lot of these zodiacal archetypes and signs throughout all of history, and even inspiring or informing people groups, right? We were talking about the Sioux, the Great Plains nations, and their links to Mongolia and the Mongolian archers, and even the idea of the Parthian shot. You see a similar thing with perhaps the Persians, perhaps those tribes in and around, Central Asia. Again, leading up to the steppes and leading up to Mongolia. But it's you also see it, for example, in the modern America. You have this idea that that was present within Masonry, was present in Kabbalah, and even Francis Bacon mentioned it. In fact, in his titled work, The New Atlantis, right? That America was this new Atlantis. Now, of course, we all know what happened to Atlantis, but you have this idea in this Atlantean myth, this even Atlantean archetype, you could say. It's a very Aquarian thing. It's a very Aquarian archetype. So you have the Sagittarian archetype, you have the Aquarian archetype. I'm sure we could pick out, pretty much a people group for every single zodiacal archetype. It appears that, again, that they're mirroring the celestial patterns in the blueprints of history that they're constructing. Yeah.
In Socrates' dialogue with Alcibiades, he is telling Alcibiades how the tribes and clans organize their festivals based around their tribe's sacred animal. And so he is making the example of this tribe worships the bear. And so if a princess from that tribe comes over to the tribe of lion, then the marriage between the lion king and the bear wife will create a new archetype, but the new archetype has to have its the provenance of a lion and a bear. And so he's describing what sounds like old marriage rites, but I think this is heraldry. This is when you look at the heraldry of royal crests and royal flags, you're actually seeing the wedding of cultures from here and there, kind of plug and play their elements. But the elements for heraldry is all celestial. It's all straight up celestial. It's Lumashi, star language. But yeah, it's something I've learned along the way that that even when they're blending cultures, it's still important that something about the resulting blend still holds the namesake of the two families.
So Gabriel, something I learned recently about the word Lu from an Ethiopian lady, wonderful Ethiopian lady in a gas station in Denver 2 weeks ago.
Awesome.
I asked her, how do you say thank you in Amharic? Amharic, everyone. Any heard of it, anyone? I live here now in Amharic. In Ethiopia. But she said, I believe to say thank you. I'm gonna butcher this. I'm a Segalu. I'm a Segalu. And she told me Lu is something of like very deep reverence and respect. Like she's like it's a sign of very big respect. Now we can extrapolate that into something much bigger, right? Like why is it? And it could probably come. So Lu is something to me, and I've always thought that the Carolus and the Lulu is anyway, little tidbit on what I learned in a Ethiopian lady gas station in Denver 2 weeks ago.
You know, I just heard the theory that this is such a good theory. But I just want to float it out there for people to take on their own adventure. There's a theory that Helen of Troy was not held up in the castle like everybody thinks she is. There is a theory that Helen of Troy snuck away during the battle and absconded to Ethiopia. And it's actually, I mean, it's in the text. But that theory,
well, you can't trust these chicks. Am I right, everyone? No, I'm playing.
She's like, y'all ran out of ships.
Y'all ran out of ships. I'm looking for a better situation. No, I'm kidding. But I'm not kidding, but you guys get it. No, I'm just joking. Massive love to the sea stars.
But yeah, I love that story because it's in public notice. You can go and check it in the epic itself. It's the part where Neptune has actually gone to Ethiopia physically. It's not like Neptune is just an idea. He is physically not there anymore because he has to go to his festival in Ethiopia. And so this little theory is that Helen snuck away. And yeah, I like that because it means that there are dynastic claims. There are dynastic claims in the epics in plain sight that people can graft onto and say, oh, no, y'all didn't realize Ethiopia was where the real priory is at, that kind of stuff.
It's strange as well because Ethiopia also relates to both Cassiopeia and Cephas. And this relates as well to, we brought up the idea of the Parthian shot, the Sagittarian or bow method, I guess, where he's shooting over his back. But you see the same thing in the World Tarot card where the Sciatic Isis also could be Cassiopeia. Again, if you interlink all of the four royal stars, they line up very, very closely with Cassiopeia. I believe it's actually meant to line up with Thuban, but in the Draco constellation. But again, it lines up almost again very closely with Cassiopeia. And again, this is why we might see with the World Tarot card that Cassiopeian divine feminine have that serpentine velvet cloth, surrounding her, or spiraling up her body. So even that idea of Helen getting away to Ethiopia, literally the land of the burnt men, could be this idea of the idea of the veiled Isis, that no man hath ever, saw her naked, right, or saw her nakedness. So this notion that no man hath ever understood, the great complexities, the great answers to all of the cosmic mysteries. Perhaps there's a metaphor interwoven with that that story of Helen, that story of even the Trojan War, and this idea that they were all fighting over Helen of Troy, that she, sailed 1,000 ships.
It sounds like they're all fighting over hell, which is the prima materia to the Gnostics, at least, which would be the earth that we find ourselves on.
Yeah, man. Silas, I love that read on the world card is Cassiopeia. I generally put the Empress card as Cassiopeia, but I see a lot. I'm perfectly capable of both anding, especially with tarot, so much both anding. But in the world card, the standard Rider-Waite one, she's got that that blanket is in the shape of a 3. She's holding up a 1 wand in one hand, and then there's the 4 in the corner. So she is encoding a 3. She could be just the 1 herself, and then the 4. She's a 314, and then Cassiopeia as pi is a 314. But I love that. I love that read.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wanted to share something, just a thought, but that I picked up before I came on. I just wanted to share this with you guys. I love this one. When you guys were talking about the psychopomp, this is great. In the car, in the Cara, the carrier, who will carry your heart across. So the word car is it's a pump. It means pump, and so your cardio is a pump. But what's fascinating is somehow the translation from car to pump is preserved when we use the word psychopomp. Is a psychopomp. The word pump is still popping out of this concept, of this egregore. And so when we say psychopomp, I just want to hone in on the pomp aspect, because that is what the word car translates to. So the heart is the pump, and the psychopomp is ushering you across the river Styx.
So I want to get your guys' take on this in relation to that. The cyclone, clone, and its shape, and you think of 9s and 6s in relation to that pump. And I've heard of, even in the heart, it's not like a pump, it's more of like a how would you explain it? More, it's actually kind of like a cyclone if you think about it. The way the word cyclone and well, with the numbers and the eyes also. The word cyclone, I broke that down a while ago. I can't remember. It was like I went on for like 30 minutes just on cyclone. And in my opinion, so when you're talking about the pump, you reminded me of a cyclone in reference to, but it doesn't operate like a pump. What is it, like a vacuum? It's like kind of like a vacuum situation. It's like a
negantropy. Negantropy is the new cool thing. Counter space and negantropy. Write these things down, y'all. This is the future. But yeah.
Is that not like entropy and what's the opposite of entropy?
Might be negantropy. I don't know, but negantropy is basically when you remove something, it creates a void, and that is generates the suction or it's an implosion generated.
I think that's how the heart. I think that's how the body circulation works. I also think that's how things work in nature and vehicles and mechanical that you're saying. That's why I just had to add. And I feel like my vernacular is failing right now, but
Everything is pressure density based. Like you have these pressure to like I think lows in pressure and density, temperature, and that's where gravity or two things like magnetically will attract. So yeah, that makes sense. That's how everything would work.
Shout out Moonfeather in the house supporting. I emotionally I forced her to come or otherwise.
Hey, do you guys know, do hurricanes rotate one direction and then typhoons go the other way? Is that true?
I'm not sure about that. I know there's a magical reason. There's the counter the clockwise way is the diurnal. The
Hurricanes rotate counterclockwise in northern hemisphere and clockwise in southern hemisphere.
Oh, right.
That's it.
Okay.
So that's the 6 and the 9, right?
Yes.
There's one direction. Yep. And then I just want to point, this is a fun one, but what are the numbers between 6 and 9? Well, they're the numbers of a tarot deck, 7, 8, 78 cards in between.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of
Get them. I love this build, yo.
Oh man, there was something I wanted to bring up a while back and I didn't, and I don't want to take us off this. So if anyone has anything else right now on this topic.
There was something regarding the 6 and the 9 recently. I think it was something to do with the Department of War, the name change.
Oh yeah. You know, Chris, did you notice that? I've been talking about the Tao made ritual, and I've been using Tao, D-O-W, and I was intending it to translate as the dogs of war.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying that for a long time. And then just last week, it's D-O-W. It's straight up. The ritual is complete.
Chris, you shared something in the private chat that just flipping blew my mind. Lou, and I just skimmed the Wikipedia. I was like, oh gosh, are you? So we don't have to go backwards in the cyclone unless you want to keep cycloning. You just blew my mind with that, dude.
I'm trying to catch up from putting up the camera when you guys were talking, so I don't know which. I like missed half of the conversation, but you mean in the private chat on Telegram?
Yeah. Oh no, on this StreamYard thing, on this cyclone yard.
I put something in that's weird.
With the Lou.
Another thing.
Oh, Silas posted that.
Oh yeah, I posted that. Yeah, about Lou.
I'm sorry, Silas.
I was like, what am I? I'm Mandela affected already from what I posted in the chat. Jesus Christ.
Dude, hey Silas, I think we could program Chris since his memory is a.
I mean, I knew I didn't write anything, and that's why I thought you meant the Telegram.
Hey Silas, let's see if we can Pavlovian train Chris.
I'm too difficult to train, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
These streams are just a large social experiment to see if we can psychologically condition Chris.
Yeah, it's gonna take us, Silas, but we gotta do it gentle. Like it's gonna take us months. We have to do it very slow, very slow.
You guys might have to. You might have to do it until I die. So
we'll do the totalitarian.
And technically, that will be me reversing the psychological operation onto you, because I'll let it happen until I die.
Oh, he's gonna reverse.
And then it'll be a waste of time.
Us. But who's gonna know who's? Oh yeah, this is gonna get complicated. This is gonna get very strange. This is gonna get cyclone-esque, depending on what. If you're inside the arc or outside the arc, the pro or anti-arc.
I was going to mention just really quickly on Cyclone. The Cyclone is very interesting because in my notes on the World Tarot card, she's also so she of course is also looking over her back, right? And it's interesting because if you overlay the zodiac onto the World Tarot card as well, she's almost like running the hamster wheel. She's attempting to get backwards, but by her moving backwards, by her looking backwards, moving backwards, she's in fact pushing the wheel, as you see on a hamster wheel. She's pushing it the other way. So again, it revolves around this idea of negentropy, that idea, the same idea that you see, for example, with centripetal and centrifugal. One is a sort of internally directed force. The other is that which is outward. So it's the same idea as involution and evolution. Another thing to mention with the cyclone is that it comes from a potential etymology in Greek, kuklemos, which means quite literally the coil of serpents. So
Wow.
it's something really tied up with the World Tarot card.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, just to add to that, Silas, just FYI, so what we talked about with the cyclone, he just reminded me, there was a chart that I saw years ago, and it was basically it's how the monetary usury works, the central bank works, and it cyclones kind of things up away from you. It was this thing how the bankers operate. So in the financial kind of steal your assets situation, they use like a cyclone philosophy to. I had to find it. It's an OG like diagram from long ago, but it relates to illustrates how they like do their whole monetary magic but using the cyclone analogy. And they used, I don't know if they use a cyclone or a hurricane analogy, but they were literally using that as a thing. That's just to add, I'm just adding that this is becoming a major thing in our realm, in my opinion, just now on this show, on the importance of we just like clumsily fell into the cyclone thing. Go ahead, Gail. Let me get out of you guys' way, man. You guys are crushing.
Yeah, this is fun. This is fun. You know, I'm gonna reappropriate a lyric we all know. Hey, teachers, leave those kids a cyclone. Right? Leave those kids a cyclone. And hey is actually a Hebrew glyph that means window, through which the wind blows and influences your decisions.
Bro, hey, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Wah. And if for those that don't know, I've been on this kick recently because Gabe already knows, because I mentioned it at nauseum.
Dude, the Wah is so powerful. I just want to say, because I know a lot of the martial arts, you are so in the flow, bro. Everything about the Wah is totally legit.
Yeah, so just to mention again, I look in my backyard and you can look. I got the Etowah pyramids, just a mile and a half from my house. If anyone wants to come check me out, just go to the Etowah pyramids and yell real loud. Just go, caw, and I speak, but Eto, Atal, right? Our words, etc. And the Wa. It's like, and it's next to the Etowah River that flows from the Alat Una. Alat is the goddess of Islam, and so Etowah literally translates to the breath of the Almighty. The Wa you can consider the Almighty, the one, or whatever terminology you wish to use. So Hawa, Etowah, Italy. That's where, and speaks and words. Words. So words of the Almighty. So breath. It actually is more like breath, not words. But breath of the Almighty is what my grimoire etymology of Etowah. So when you say it means so you said hey. Grant me a little. I'm making hay into Wah. So yeah.
Well, it's kind of got the same thing. Like, even so, hey means window, but also it's a way. It's a portal. It's a through port.
The way, I mean? Yahweh,
the way,
Allah,
right?
Yeah.
The water, the tower. Yeah,
so
tower.
So my friends and guys, this is why I say like these especially the Abrahamic legions of Ra come from like this this Americas in its origin, in my opinion. When we get it's a lot, guys. And if anyone here like disagrees with me on something, just know like, and that's cool, but I don't come to these conclusions. These is like a lot of data, what I'm saying, on how I come to these things, so I just wanted to share that. And also, in my opinion, we're doing it now. We're doing the work now. We're decoding the realm right now on the fly. And I would take that over any pro or amateur fesser. If you want to fess up, You know, if you're gonna be a fessor and you're gonna claim to be pro, you know, I would. Yeah. Anyway.
I was going to mention as well, just on the idea of the hay, and I completely agree with what you stated there, Slick Dissident. Yeah, the pictograph is certainly, it's the threshold, the door, the throughport. You see the same thing in, so this will be kind of, this will be a long-winded, not necessarily a rant, but within the Vatican City, what you find is, well, firstly, its logo is that of the silver and the golden gate. That is an astro-theological idea that you see between that of, again, it can change between the summer and winter solstice, but usually it's between the spring equinox and the autumnal equinox. So it goes from Orion, who is, of course, in that of springtide, that of Aries, or near Aries at least, and then there's a sort of, again, that diurnal, or like the day, that solar movement, right? Again, the solar cycle, the solar cycle, the R is relating to the Resh. The Resh letter of Hebrew is the head. So literally the soul which is in the head, this is its cycle, moves to the golden gate of the autumn, the autumnal equinox. There we find Scorpio, but standing on the head of Scorpio is Ophiuchus. So Ophiuchus is this other, he's almost like the fool himself, right? Again, he's this energetic character that you don't, but he's mysterious. You don't necessarily know if he's dancing with the serpent or, of course, wrestling with it. Again, this links to the paradox of nature itself, and again, the negentropic or counter space that maintains everything. But then you see in the Vatican as well, you see up to, so from St. Peter's Basilica all the way down that street, I forget the name of it now. I was in Rome many years now ago, but right down to Castel Sant'Angelo, look at that from a bird's eye view. It forms a key. So you see all of this key symbolism. This also ties back with Janus as well. But and by the way, that also links with the Truman Show, but I won't get into that. The idea of the hay. So the hay letter is also an Egyptian god. And Hay in Egypt, I believe his name meant flood originally, and it was relating to, again, the same passage of the Nile River, which was seen as literally the birth canal of the Egyptian civilization. And then finally, the Hay, the god, was also known as the god of 1,000,000 years, but he was also associated with the palm branch. Now, why is that important? Well, the palm branch itself is named as such because it resembles the cluster of fingers of the hands. This also links with digitalism as well, by the way, the digits, right? The fragmentation from a singular point. Again, this is how the informational networks function. But just finally, the palm branch itself is seen at the end of IPEC Goat 2. Now, right at the end of IPEC Goat 2, within this, again, you see the golden gate, if you will. So that transition has been made from the silver gate to the golden gate, zodiacally, astrologically, astrotheologically. But on the left-hand side in the clouds, you see Scorpio. In the right hand, you see the palm of the hand. This is the hand of the alchemist. It is also Betelgeuse as well, which you find in the Moon Tarot card, and also the Winter Triangle between Sirius, Procyon, and of course Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse, from its Arabic etymology, means the hand of the giant, or relating to the hand of Orion. So again, it's the same palm branch. What the palm, I think, is relating to is this notion of, again, like man is the fallen star, like man is the five-pointed pentacle. It's pointing to this configurable or reconfigurable pattern of nature itself and the cosmos, and it constantly reiterates itself. I think that's what it's relating to. Again, the hand is in the place of Ophiuchus at the end of I Pet Goat 2, hence the palm branch. But I think Ophiuchus and the hand, or the palm branch, is exactly the same, symbolically speaking. This also links with Kabbalah, by the way. They call the palm branch the Leluv, if my pronunciation isn't totally murdering that word, but it's the same idea. I believe, I think it's on Yom Kippur. I think it is Yom Kippur. It's I think it is Yom Kippur, where they use this lulav, and basically they parade it around, and I think it's probably relating to this ancient Egyptian god of the flood, He. You actually find in Hebrew there's about 400 or 500 words. I have a list of them that are loan words from Egyptian. They're not just loan words; they're literal. Some of them are transliterated, but some of them are just literally, just plagiarized, taken right from the Egyptian. Interestingly.
Man, I dig it. I dig it. That was a good one, Silas. That Beetlejuice. Go ahead, Ronan.
Oh, just to add to, I'm sorry. So also Eto means a towel, which in Jamaican is I and I.
I and I give thanks and praise.
Thanks and praise. Ya Mayaka, Ya, Iriman, Ireland, Erland. I put this in the chat, but how do you get to karate? You mentioned karate. Haya, right? In Japan, you get there through pan ama. So I just want to share. That. I had to get that out. See, my friends, when I say things, and forgive me, I'm not patting myself on the back, but when I say things, just know there are more connections. I just forget them sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro. It is so crazy to have said so many things and have to recall any of it.
And recall everything, because I know when Slick says stuff, it's not a one-off. It's like, I know he has 1,000 other things connected, but so I just want everyone to know. I know I may sound wild. It may sound like I'm reaching or stretching, but just know I don't just say things. Just cut. It's a lot, and to recall of these things. So massive love, and I just ask a little leeway. That's another it means waterfall. Shut up, Moonfeather Lee. And yeah, man. So I'm just, we don't have the time, and I'm geeking right now. So much love, and I love this, man. I love bouncing this off. But Slick has something, and Chris, just mute my mic if I'm yapping too much.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm catching up with everything, trying to find a place to go far back in this conversation, but we're not there yet.
So, Silas, some of the correspondences you laid out there, they map really soundly in my mind. I pretty much almost have the stars memorized. And Beetlejuice's shoulder, it erupts periodically, right? It's kind of got some kind of nova going on every once in a while. And this is really far out. This is some super obscure stuff. Some insider Jesuit trivia that I picked up along the way. There's a fella in the Catholic order who had an epiphany, and they were testing his epiphany. They were testing it for actual divine causality. And so they're grilling this guy on his vision of the Christ. He says he walked with Christ in his vision. And they're like, well, tell us this, tell us that. And he's got to answer everything just right. Can't get any of it wrong. And some of it is like stopgap information that only the Insight Click knows, right? So there are correct answers here. And one of the correct answers he gave that everybody was like, whoop, he was there. This is legit. This vision is legit. Is that he was told that the only agony of the Christ that the world does not acknowledge is the angst on his shoulder. There's an actual list of the anguishes of the Christ. And there's this one aspect that is not on the list. It's kept in the inner circle. And he got it right in his vision. And that aspect of his vision was that one of the wounds, that's it, the wounds of the Christ that nobody talks about or thinks about, is that he carried that thing on his shoulder and how much it would have hurt. And so he's conveying to the inner sanctum that I walked with Christ, and he was telling me how much we don't talk about that one wound. And the inner sanctum was like, oh snap, he figured it out. He was there. And I'm tripping because he's describing Ophiuchus's supernova that happens on the shoulder all the time, periodically. And then I just want to draw a line from Ophiuchus's shoulder directly. It's a really important thread in the stars. I don't know if it'll come through. Let me see if I can take you guys on a little tour. Can you make me big, Chris?
Yeah, I should be able to. Here, let me
said
see.
it again.
How can I make you?
No homo. Can you make me big? No homo.
How the hell would I do this? No, that's me big. I don't want that. Do I bring you to... How do we make you the one on top? Solo layout. There we go.
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Gabe's up top by himself.
So Orion is here.
Let me see now if it'll let the rest of us be on. Say, nope, never mind.
Okay.
Oh. Jesus Christ. Go ahead.
There we go. So Orion's here. Betelgeuse is on his, I think, this shoulder, the raised arm.
Yeah.
And what is really neat is this river. This is the Eridanus River, and it weans and it winds. It's a double oxbow. And then its runoff, the delta, is going to be right here, where it feeds out into the oceans below, let's say. But the Eridanus is a river constellation, and everybody hears river and they think of the Milky Way. That's not what this is. That is not what this is. This is another river. And it runs off right next to the Phoenix constellation, is right here. And the genus, it might be the phylum or the genus of palm tree is the Phoenix. Palm trees are the Phoenix phylum. And so in the Bible, there's a story about Mary, and she's wandering along, and she finds a palm tree to sit and rest under and to take in the dates from this date palm tree. And I'm pretty sure she's sitting by a river. And so I just love when I hear palm tree and dates in mythology, I think of the Phoenix constellation, because it's at the foot of the river and is mapped out in the scenery of Mary resting under a palm tree.
You'll also notice as well, beside the Phoenix is the Orologium. So
yeah,
the
buddy.
clock. And interestingly, and I'm pretty sure if I recall correctly, in Egyptian mythology, the Phoenix was seen as a demarcator of epochs or eons, or it was a measure of time in a sense, and it was that which measured the time between the world ages. So you're absolutely correct. The Eridanus as well links with that Sumerian city of Eridu, does it not? I'm pretty sure.
Hold on, everybody. Hold on. You are tripping me out. Hold on, y'all. 248 years for
Uranus cycle
to do a cycle. 250 years for the lifespan of an empire. Guys, the Horologium constellation is in Aquarius. It's a water clock, right? So it needs the Eridanus. That's the other thing I always got to tell people. These constellations are interdependent. They are not independent. They are entangled with the coterminal constellations. So the Eridanus water source feeds the Horologium. It's a water clock, some say, in some cultures. But Silas, Horologium is in Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is complete, right? We're coming into the age of Aquarius thing, but that's where the clock is. In all of the constellations, there's only one clock, and it's in Aquarius. I think that's really something special. And it's right by Pluto right now.
That sounds like not a good thing. I don't know. Next to Pluto. So the clock is next to the death planet that the elites worship.
But Chris, is Is it inverted to be more to be awesome? My little quick decoder ring tells me anything they think is death or
Well-
horrible is like, no, actually cool. Anything they think is cool, I'm like, oh, it probably sucks.
Well, I will say
Pluto
this.
real, Chris, is Pluto real? Is it a thing?
Well, who the hell? I mean, I haven't seen it in a thing, so I don't know. But I mean, I will say this: the Age of Aquarius was supposed to be a golden age of man, where everything gets better, especially in the Eastern religions. But I don't see that around me right now. I see things still kind of remaining at that same level and getting worse. Obviously, honestly, if I'm being real, people are doing worse than they were before. So it almost makes me think like that might have been the inversion.
Well, if we understand as well that even this, Uranic cycle. Look at another card that is somewhat linked to Uranus is that of the Star, and I think the Star is officially the Star Tarot card is officially linked to Uranus, and so what you see with that is again like the Eridanus, right? Firstly she has two jugs, right?
Mm-hmm.
She pours out one of the contents of the jugs into that of the omega pool, right? And the omega pool is creating this Empyrean-like concentric rings of again the tower, right? The layers of density, the layers of the world ages, the layers of time, the meanderings of the Eridanus. And in the other one, she pours out the contents onto the land. And the land actually creates this sort of cryptic or secretive pentacle. So there's 5 streams emerging from this this water that touches the land. So of course we have the mutable elements; they stay on the land, but the immutable element, the 5th element, of course, the spirit, that which is the primal fire. Of course, Orion itself comes from Uruana, I believe, which is the heavenly light. So the heavenly light returns to the omega pool. So in the Aquarian age, we were talking about this cult that perhaps worships, they're children of the void, they perhaps worship this sort of more Tartarian energy, meaning from Tartarus, this Tiamat energy, this Tehom, this deep primordial potential, which is the source of all power, but it's also the source of all chaos. It's tantalizing, it's enticing, but it's ultimately uncontrollable. So this is what creates the sort of Faustian bargain, right? And this is what we're seeing with the AI, and we're seeing it with digitalism and all of this. But again, at the end of the Eridanus, everything is relatively stable. It's don't get me wrong, a river is never stable, right? But it's the currents have a trajectory until it reaches the Aquarian age, and it's like the 4 royal stars that we see on that of the World Tarot card. It appears that that time itself ends at the Aquarian age. You've already, for example, Francis Fukuyama, very famous geopolitical theorist. And he is sort of the main geopolitical grandfather of this notion of the neoliberal order, right, which has come to influence and inform geopolitics and foreign policy, at least in the West. And he created a book, I believe it was called The End of History. I think that was the name of the book. So again, this end of history concept, it's tied with the Aquarian age because we are going back in to the omega pool. We're going back into this Tiamat, this deep, and the deepness itself destroys us, yes, but it also permits us to be reinfused with the potential to reawaken from that destruction, like the phoenix, to rise from the ashes. Another thing to mention as well is that the Eridanus, it does come from Eridu, which is a Sumerian word meaning good city. Uru or Nun-Ke was another term it went by. So the city of the good god. And who was the good god? It was Enke or Ea, pronounced perhaps Ya, right? So the good god, he was the god of water. I believe he was also linked with Mercury as a planet. But Mercury itself is almost a watery principle. It's a principle that it has the glistening primal energies inherent within Earth. But like water, it also reflects the microcosm in the macrocosm, pardon, in a singular drop of it. So you have all of these little symbolic hints. But Enki himself was seen as a savior deity. You see it within the Atrahasis flood myth and all of this. But so that's linked to that. But then we look at finance. So we're talking about the Eridanus, right? And Orion, the headless dreamer, the headless god who is upon the Eridanus, who is driven by its currents. And if he doesn't develop his ego, which is the ship, he is caught in the currents. He's lost at sea, if you will, or he's destined to be lost at sea once he reaches the end of the river. Well, anyway, of course, what controls the river and controls the meanderings of the currents or the currency? It's that of the banks on either side. It's the dialectics. It's the entropy and negentropy. It's the centripetal and the centrifugal. It's the right and the left. It's the black and the white, the gay, the straight, the cis, the trans.
Silas.
I mean, it's all there. So it's
Silas.
Yeah, sort of.
Where does one store those banks of currency energy? That is usually found at the mouth of a stream.
In the reserve, in the reservoir.
Oh, the reservoir.
Yeah.
Getting closer. You're getting closer, guys. I don't mean a pop quiz.
The dike? Is it the dike?
All right. A battery.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Yes. Bingo. Yeah.
And before we move too far, the father of Uranus or Uranus is a sea god, Pontus Pilate, Pontus. But he also has the horns of a crab on his head, so that could also be a different age.
Yes. Is this what's his name? What name?
They say it's Pontus, sometimes spelled Pontus, sometimes Pontos, but Pontos in the Greek apparently means sea.
Yeah. And so he's got a little crab
crown, a crab crown, a crab corona.
And is he Typhon? Essentially, is this another name for Typhon? Does it say that? Because your read that it might signify an age, it fits for Typhon. Typhon is an amalgam of the cardinal signs. He's a hodgepodge of Aries, Cancer.
Well, it's
Libra.
interesting because they connect him to pride, incest, and things like that. I don't know if that would be connected to Typhon. I think some of it might be. It seems like they would be an older age, but if we're in, but it could be also a god of an older age or entity, consciousness, energy of an older age that some of these social engineer family types worship still.
Big time. Yeah. So, I'm gonna do a rant just to share. Because,
rant.
Yeah, buddy.
Rant.
All right. So this has much to do with the royal stars that now this is so difficult to explain. This is really difficult to explain. PK and I are still working out what is the best way to say what I'm trying to put in your mind, but the royal stars don't move, but there is a drift of the season, right? There's a little drift to the seasons. And so the stars are the same, but the time that the stars come into view has a slow drift. And so the four royal stars, once upon a time, were totally oriented to whole nother zodiacal constellations. And so they tell us, in the way that we're still talking about the four royal stars presently, is as though they are still in the fixed, the fixed directions, or in the fixed signs. So hang in there with me. This is a long rant, but it's worth it, I promise. The story of Typhon marching across the land and snuffing out paganism and the multiple gods. This is the story of Ptolemy. And Ptolemy is the first encroachment of monotheism. This is the birth of the simpletons. And if you take, for one, Typhon and Ptolemy are basically anagrams, right? Especially if you're slick dissident. And so if you take the story of Typhon, it is essentially the monster of Typhon is all cardinal signs. And he rampages across the land, and all of the gods of the Greeks have to retreat because they're intimidated. Whatever Typhon is, he's like nothing they've ever seen, and they're fearful. So they actually go in retreat for a small period of time. This mythologically conveys to me that monotheism has taken over, has taken hold, is a stranglehold on the myths when Ptolemy came into play. And so paganism in the pantheon had to run and hide in Egypt temporarily. Sounds a little bit like what I said about the epics in the Iliad. And so the gods of the Greeks go to Egypt to retreat, to hide. And Pan, who is an agricultural deity and is not native to the Greek pantheon, he's this outsider. They come to Pan and they're like, yo, Typhon's storming the lands. We got to hide. Pan is clever. He says, I'll put some masks on each of you. And the masks he puts on each of the deities tell us everything we need to know. You can unpack this myth generations down the line because the animals were appropriate for the energies. And so Pan puts the masks onto the energies that we call the Greek gods. This is animalizing these energies. It's actually putting them in a context that's accessible to the agricultural class, whereas before they were not. This is important. Typhon storms the land. He comes to Egypt. He looks around and says, I don't see nothing but a bunch of critters. And he turns his back. And Zeus pops up from his ram costume and blasts him in the shoulder, just like Orion and this big nebulous that goes off on the shoulder again. So Typhon gets blasted in the shoulder from behind. And then they tussle. Typhon wins, pulls out the 10 Dans, wraps them in a bear skin, and moves north. He takes out the 10 Dans, wraps them in a bear skin, and heads north. These are all astronomical. And then Hermes and Pan join together to go rescue Zeus. But this is monotheism coming in and trying to snuff out the pantheon. And they had to hide in animals and become what we see them as today. And then, this is also important, if Typhon is a composite of of the cardinal signs, if Typhon represents the 4 cardinal signs, as though, imagine, Silas, the world card having all those four animals in the corners, imagine them being totally different from what you see, right? That is the old age. And so when Ptolemy handed over his dynasty, he gave it to a woman we all know as Cleopatra. And guess what? Cleopatra's name unpacks into the fixed cardinal, the fixed signs. Cleo, you got the C for the bull, you got the Leo for the lion, you got the Pet for the bird that would be Scorpio back then, and then the Tra would be I think Aquarius would be an Aquarius. So yeah, Cleopatra's name is all of the 4 fixed signs where they tell us that the royal stars are. But guess what, guys? I had to take you through this long haul because the royal stars are no longer in fixed signs. As of 2012, the last of the 4 royal stars is no longer in the fixed signs. We're talking about the old age when we describe the royal stars to people. The 4 royal stars have progressed. And as of 2012, Mayan prophecy, Smith-Mundt Act, anybody? As of 2012, Regulus has floated across the threshold and is officially in Virgo season. It's no longer during Leo. Regulus, the last of the 4 royal stars, has clicked into place. And now what we used to call Cleopatra, the old age that we're still describing the royal stars as Cleopatra, it's a new status. And this is why we are in such a mutable age, because the 4 royal stars are all in mutable signs. So as of right now, I'm just going to list them off to show off my brain pan. Aldebaran is occurring during Gemini, right? Regulus is occurring during Virgo. Antares, which is an anagram for treason, is occurring during Sagittarius. And what used to be Fomalhaut used to be in Aquarius, well, now it's in Pisces. And that happened over the course of like maybe 1,000 years that they migrated out of fixed signs. And the fixed signs also don't just signify Cleopatra, they also signify a crucifix.
Yeah.
And so now we are fully in the age of mutability. And it is, those words are going to unpack into your daily experience forever.
I was going to mention too, Typhon seems to map onto the idea of Kali, the goddess Kali, especially how Typhon is tricked to eat, or I can't remember, he eats something that makes him weakened, but Kali is tricked into drinking something to stop her from spilling the blood of the people.
Good call, dude.
Yeah.
And natural disasters, in her Hindu derivative, Calliope becomes Ka'alratri. And Ka'alratri is that natural disaster.
Obey.
Davy, yeah.
Obey Kali.
It's
Caliphate.
something interesting on that as well is that, so for example, Typhon, we also have Apophis or a Pep. All of these things are somewhat similar. Even the Leviathan as well. You have Yam, the Canaanite sea god. I mean, there's literally hundreds of the they almost are self-same archetypes, but perhaps that's linking to the point in time where Thuban, which from Arabic literally means the serpent, and the constellation Draco, was, and I believe that's between the Big Dipper and what we know in Britain as the Plough or the Ploughman, and that of course, Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper. And again, it follows the circumpolar star of Polaris, but the North Star at one point in time, I believe between, it was 3,900 BC, give or take. It might have been 3,700 BC, actually, all the way to about 1750 BC. Thuban was the North Star. I believe it. I forget where I read this, but at that point in time, I think it was in some sort of Kabbalistic tome, but it mentioned that at that point in time, the 4 faces of God were born. So, like, basically, it appears to be stating that the 4 royal stars came to be in their cardinal or fixed positions at that point. And here's what's very interesting as well. So, so of course, the serpent itself, Thuban, the North Star, or at one point in time, links with that of Typhon. It links with that of Apophis, and this sort of chaotic deity.
Well, Silas, Typhon, Python. I mean, they're anagrams, so
exactly, yeah, exactly. And remember as well, Typhon was also the son of Tartarus and Gaia. So, and they were all, I mean, Tartarus, Gaia, and there's a few other ones. I believe that's in Hesiod's Theogony.
Yeah.
Hesiod's Theogony, where he mentions that chaos gave birth to these protogonos, the firstborn, and basically you see this descent of the heavenly light, right? But the interesting thing is, see, if you look at the Anno Lucis calendar system and you look at the Anno Mundi calendar system, so one, of course, the former is of the Masonry and the latter is of Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism. It's interesting because I believe, if I recall correctly, the Anno Mundi calendar has its year 0 at 3757 3756. I might be incorrect there. And in the Masonic Anno Lucis calendar system, as it's year 0 at 4001 BC, if you take the averages of those two, it almost is, it's an approximation. I stress, an approximation at the point where Thuban became the North Star.
Whoa.
So,
Wow.
and then here's how it gets really strange, because it states at the end of the Tikkun Olam in Kabbalah, this is from the Zohar, it mentions that the righteous ones, the Zadik, they also call them the Zadik Nistarim, which is it literally translates as the concealed righteous ones. And they also mention there's 36 of them alive at any one point in time, steering the world, a bit like the Eridanos. And anyway, it mentions that these individuals will sit under the tabernacle, which is the canopy of the stars, metaphorically speaking, and they will eat from this, eat the skin of Leviathan,
Right.
who has been slain. Now, I've never quite figured that out, but I actually the whole Thuban thing, I just stumbled upon that randomly. I don't know, just randomly stumbled across it, and recently, yeah. So it might link to that.
Okay, Silas, I'm digging this so much. Tell me again, the Anno Domini, and what was the other one?
Say the Anno Lucis calendar. That's the Masonic one. So it's the year of light, and the Anno Mundi calendar system, which is the year of the world, and that's the Hebrew or the Kabbalistic calendar system.
Okay, I want to voice a suspicion.
Here we go.
Yeah, I wonder if the difference between the Anno Lus and the Anno Domini, Anno Mundi. I wonder if they have anything to do with the Treaty of Tortuga Island, when Portugal took basically Brazil and everything east, and then Spain took the rest of the Americas going west. The Treaty of Tortuga Island, and this is the reason why Brazil speaks Portuguese. And I would suspect that the Brazilian Portuguese, or the other way around. Well, the thing is, Portuguese language is often has the word loose. Portuguese influenced languages have a category that sounds a lot like the word Luciferian. It sounds very
the Carolou loose.
Yeah.
Hold
on, Ronan, hold on.
Okay.
And so the Anno Lus would be to Portugal, theoretically, and the Anno Mundo might be to the Masons and to Spain. And if there's anything to that, if my suspicion has any thread or any oomph to it, it would be very neat, because that means the Treaty of Tortuga Island, Tortuga Islands plural, are enshrining the passing of the North Star from Thuban. With your theory,
yeah,
Silas. That's neat.
Taurus, two, split it right down the two, Ga. And when I see Ga, I see Ka. Tortuga. So you have yes. And the reason why I mentioned that whole Portuguese back the other way, it's because when they did come and start to invade the land, their languages were very similar in Brazil and in all these other locations, and all these island names. Gosh, look in the Carib, y'all, the Caribe people, and the name. So they came across to conquer, and they knew it was here, and because etc. The languages of the Semitic and the Portuguese and the Sephardic and the seafaring was very interchangeable. If you spoke Portuguese and you said, hey, and you came across and you're like, hey, what's up, guys? We're in Brazil. And they're like, yeah, what's up? Totally. They totally understood each other.
Yep.
So I just want to throw that I wasn't trying to interrupt your flow, my friend.
I was going to say just really quickly on that Treaty of Tortuga Island. I believe it's also called the Treaty of oh god, Tordesillas. I think is the name. So it's funny you mention this because I. I'm not. This is from memory because I was over there in that general where it was signed, where it was ratified, and just when I was visiting Armin, who's Chris knows about him. He's my Portuguese pal over there, and he's a great thinker as well. But it was ratified, and I'm going to butcher the Portuguese here, so I do apologize, Armin. He always hates when I butcher his mother tongue. It's Chetubal. So it's or Setubal, Set and Bal.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's where it was ratified.
Dude, hold on, Gabe. I got something for you guys, and this is connects to Basse. I just had to look this up. Basse Terra, right? Is a port in Tortuga. When you were talking about Pan dealing with the Egyptian situations, I immediately thought of one of my favorite Egyptian deities, Bes, the dwarf god of Egypt who likes to party. And I was thinking to myself in a silly thought, I'm silly, did Bes and Pan party? Did they party? Because they're known for partying, right? So, but there just happens, we're in Tortuga in a port that's called Besse. I don't know what that, to me, that's shout out to everything. Massive love. Continue, guys. I'm sorry. This is fuck. My mind is so blown right now with the legends. Keep going, dude.
Yeah. The thing about the Treaty of Turtle Island, I'm fascinated by it. I want to learn so much more. But I am beginning to appreciate why Brazil speaks Portuguese and everybody else speaks Spanish. And then I'm also starting to contemplate, like, what does the Basque Rh negative blood, how does it influence Portuguese culture, for the Portuguese side of the Treaty of Tortuga? I suspect that the
To understand it, you have to have liberty in your heart, and you know that.
I got the Leo Bear. I got the Leo Beardy. I suspect that the Portuguese consider themselves more of the pure orientation, just because there's so much family pride. And in the context of the Treaty of Tortuga Island, I think that the Basque Rh negative blood is most likely Brazilian on the Americas. And then I think that the Portuguese, or at least whatever the agenda that was set by the treaty, considers all of Spain to be contaminated. Does that make sense? That's why I look at the Treaty of Tortuga Island, because I think that whatever that treaty was and whatever the world conflict of the time, I think that all of Spain and the territories of Spain are considered sullied by one side of the treaty, and the other side of the treaty considers themselves the purebloods, And I just ponder that. And Portuguese is so beautiful. I'm so fortunate to even have a clue when I hear Portuguese, because it's traveled the world. It has it's got all of it. Like Ronan, everything that the language, all of the ciphers of all the language is very much availed to the Portuguese ear. It's in the name.
Are we ill? Are we ill at a rate?
I kind of think that maybe somebody's mama might have been once upon a time. It's like Darwinism is the longest standing your mama joke ever.
Chris, are we crushing right now, dude? Or
yeah,
what?
we're crushing. That's why I haven't been saying much, because everyone's crushing right now. Something I wanted to bring back up from way earlier in the conversation, and I was just like, I don't know if it's going to come back up naturally, but it was something Silas brought up about, it was Göbekli Tepe and it being buried. And I wanted to discuss that a little bit more because of certain things that I've read, at least, were found there. And this might bring us back a little bit to I mean, we don't really have a topic. Me and Silas were going to be talking about AI, but then we started going everywhere, which is fine. I love that. But,
well, that's your fault, Chris. You invited Gabe and I, and that's what happens when you do so.
well, no, and I love that. And even here, looking at some basic information on Göbekli Tepe, they're comparing it to another similar site called Karahan Tepe. So that brings us right back to the Kara connection, which is interesting.
Tell the story, please, Chris. Please tell it for me, because no one.
And Karahan Tepe literally looks the same. They have these T-shaped pillars, and this is found in Turkey. And Turkey is a tricky place. Whatever's going on out there is could be a little suspect at times.
Is that Torquay, the key to the Tor, or is that Tortuga?
It's the this is Torquay. This is Torquay, but a lot of these figures at both these places, obviously, we have anthropomorphized, half animal, half human entities, deities that seem like they were being worshipped. I don't think we have one full, maybe we have one at Göbekli Tepe, they say, one full regular normal human that's on that's carved into one of the rocks. And there's so many layers that it goes down, and it seems to get more advanced as we get lower. And now they've stopped digging. They stopped digging at Göbekli Tepe. I would almost wager a bet that they've stopped digging at Karahan Tepe in Turkey. Yeah. And I think it's because, Silas, you had mentioned that you think that these were centers that became almost cities.
Well, hold on. Let me just chime in, and I'll get out of the way fast. Yes, Kara means dark. Yes, but Tepe, what's Pe? Everyone, what is Pe? It's Fe. It's Fe. The Fe and Pe are the same. Like Pe King back in the day. Pe is Fe. So what is Te? What does a Te or Day type thing mean? In my grimoire, House of the Fae. It's a place. It's a teepee. Who, quote unquote, Indians. And what do Indians do? They live in teepees. It's essentially, at least on their summer vacation.
TP is a 216.
Another thing with
you're gonna. Do I gotta do math? Yeah, I didn't study for the math, but Pe and Fae. So when you see Tepe, in my opinion, I'm not telling anyone what to think. In my grimoire, it is like the dwelling of the Fae. So I just want to toss that out there. And yes, Kara means dark, and Kara everywhere. You know what's up. Hun, Khan, Kara Khan, Wan. Please, you guys.
And see, now if these are dwellings of the Fae, are dwellings of some sort of entity that was more advanced and influenced current civilization in some way, then a lot of the things they're finding at these temples that seem to match now, one all the way in Turkey across overseas, and one out here in Göbekli Tepe in southern America.
Yeah, I'm gonna go long.
Was it a city, or was it actually like a scientific place of study where they were doing experiments on humans?
Bounce past. Yeah, I think he was trying to bounce it to Silas.
Was it early transhumanism? Is what I'm saying. Being attempted at these places.
Just really quickly on the Fae and the Pe. The Pe letters, the 17th Hebrew letter. I mean, interestingly, it has the numerical value is 80 of 80 because Hebrew doesn't have any numbers. It's an alphanumeric system. It substitutes the numbers for letters. Basically, it's the 80 or the 8
Or was it a hoax? Like someone said in the chat, could have been.
Oh, the Göbekli Tepe. Yeah.
I find that one harder to believe as being a hoax than I do a lot of the other places with the monoliths.
It also has the star map there as well, which it has the same, I believe it has the same 4 royal stars, give or take.
Yeah,
It's been years since I looked at it now, but
totally.
Yeah. So my idea, just before I get to that really quickly, the distinction between Portugal and Spain, I think it probably relates to so Sephardic or Sephardim comes from the Hebrew root separ or sephara, I think it is. So it literally means like a written document, but in context, it could mean written knowledge. So it could be this distinction between perhaps the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. I could be stretching there, but it's just something to consider. So yeah, the Pe and the Fe link also pictographically to the mouth. So the word, the logos, and all of this. But the idea of the city. There's this theory I came across recently, and it's a sociological theory, and again, it's quite head scratching to a lot of sociologists, and what drove man to give up, being a hunter gatherer for civilization. It doesn't really make any sense on the face of it. Why? And even in a quote unquote primitive, agricultural society, it doesn't make any sense to settle down, to wait so long for the harvest to be able to be reaped. Again, it just doesn't make sense. Why would you make that grand leap? You actually do more work in agricultural societies, at least antiquated ones, right? However, the idea is that places like Göbekli Tepe, Karen Tepe, I mean any city really, right, is that they started off as centers of the priest class, centers of religious devotion, religious instruction. And it was the hunter-gatherers, or so the theory goes, the hunter-gatherers would nomadically, periodically come to this site, this hallowed ground that was a bit like the Switzerland of its day, this neutral area, where the tribes, these intercompeting tribes of nomads and hunter-gatherers, they wouldn't fight on this hallowed ground. So this permitted almost a monopoly for the priest class in terms of power, influence, and then over time, they developed a system of agriculture, a system of agrarian systematization, where they built these mass cities. They literally built the game board of Monopoly in marble and brick and stone. And they trapped the hunter-gatherers in these cities. But the idea is, and again, this is beyond the theory, the idea is, were the priest class, were they doing this just of their own volition, or were they consorting with something perhaps beyond our dimensional realm, right? Beyond our perceivable realm, right? Is civilization a pattern from the abyss? Is it something that, like the Eridanus, it leads the Orion, the heavenly light, the headless dreamer, who is stuck in the financier class of the banks, of currency, liquidity, as you were saying, Mystic, this idea of the reserve, the reservoir, the battery. Is it leading him down to the Aquarian age of the omega pool of Tartarus, of the deep, of the digital deep,
Dang, bro.
Silas,
Dang.
Can I ask you a question, my friend? Sorry, Gabe. I'll get out.
Man, I got so much on this, man. I got so much on this. I just listened to Silas and I'm like stacking stuff.
I know, dude. You're geeking. I'm geeking out too.
I'm geeking.
Powerful beings. Everyone here is powerful. Silas, let me ask you a question in relation to that, and I'll ask it in the way of an old Mexican story, and that is, A Mexican guy, he goes fishing in the morning. He catches some fish. He's home by 11 a.m. He's got enough food to feed his family. An American from New York comes by and goes, "Man, you're really doing a lot of fishing. That's great." He's like, "Yeah, you're very successful." He's like, "Yeah, I get home, I spend time with my wife and kids. We have enough to eat." And the American goes, "You know, if you do more, you can actually sell more and make more money." And then the Mexican guy goes, "Okay, then what? Then you can buy a boat and produce more fish." And then the Mexican goes, "Okay, then what? Then you can take you can create a company and you can actually go public and have investors." And the Mexican guy goes, "Okay, then what?" Then the American goes, "Eventually," I'm fast forwarding. Then the American guy goes, "Eventually, you could sell that company and then make a lot of money." And the Mexican guy goes, "Then what?" And then the American goes, "Well, then you can spend time with your family." And the Mexican, 50 years later. So Silas,
is he talking about the family in the graveyard?
Do you want to be enterprising, or do you just want to have enough fish for the day, hang out with the family and kids, or do you want to be entrepreneurial and then crush and then eventually do the same thing, but 50 years later, too late? What do you think, Silas, in relation to what you just were talking about in the ages, etc.?
Well, this shows the idea of Sisyphus or Ixion, all of these myths, which show the absurdity of effectively civilization, right? Things that are based around the city. It reminds me of an old Indian proverb, and I don't know who said it, but I just remember stumbling upon it, and it goes something like, when the rivers dry up, when all the trees are cut down, man will then realize he's not able to eat money. So, it's the same absurdity, right? It's this absurd pattern of civilization, and it's like cyclical open air asylums that incessantly destroy themselves, but man incessantly, like an addict, goes back to it constantly. And it's something that perplexes me. I can't quite understand it. You look through history, and why do they keep going back to civilization? It never works. Like what you were saying, Ronan.
But
yeah.
If the point of civilization is eventually mass ritual sacrifice, then of course it works for them. If they want to get if it's to herd people and eventually farm and sacrifice them, then civilization is exactly what you would expect.
A harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I'm going to take the conversation back about 5 minutes to Turkey. I just want to share my suspicion. Turkey encodes, it's just the English derivation of the word torch, the torque. And so some people are further along in their development of this idea, but many minds believe that Turkey is the grand central station of all the underground tunnels.
Yeah.
And in fact, the word land on the end of so many places in the world, the word land in reverse is almost the word Denal. Iceland, Greenland, Scotland, they have the word Denal at the end of the name of these locations. And a lot of people suspect that there are Denals that connect Iceland to Scotland to Turkey. And so the idea of underground networks are probably much older than we think. And I think each one of us have a great amount of grasping at what is really going on with the tunnels, what's really going on at this point. But then also I want to point at the iblis in the word Turkey. Also, iblis is a peacock. It's a royal bird. In Spanish, it's the pavo royal. However, it is also the shiniest, the most glistening. The display of a male peacock is almost like a crystal cavern. And so the Iblis is encoded in Turkey, as is the torch. And so this fractal light going through Pavo Royal is very much correspondent to all the fractal directions that these tunnels are probably going from Turkey. And so and then one more thing about Göbekli Tepe. I just, this is kind of me being funny. I think that Göbekli Tepe sounds a whole lot like the phrase gobbling turkey.
Yeah.
And a bunch of gobbling turkeys sound exactly like a house of ill repute. At rush hour, it would sound like a bunch of gobbling turkeys. That's what a whorehouse sounds like. And that's actually what they tell us was going on in these sanctuaries, that they are fertility hubs, and that the name of the place means pregnant belly.
It's also like globe tech. So you have the globalist tech in there. And remember also the weave that we did the one time on NBC with the peacock inverting it, and that becomes the torch, the rainbow torch.
And they just snuffed it out. They just snuffed it out.
They got rid of it, right? Yeah.
They just snuffed out the torch. They're trying to keep a low profile, and now their name is like more snow or something like that. MS Now.
And you know, Chris, I've mentioned crypts before.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people, of course, they've Wikipedia'd back to me saying it means a death, a place of horrendous decay of whatever. And I go, I don't know what you're talking about. For me, crypts means it's encoded, it's encrypted, where massive amounts of information and treasures are hidden. If you're a decoder, you can decrypt that. So on the subterranean weave, crypts to me are awesome. Get your Indiana Jones on and go find those treasures. Crypts are not evil. Why would they be considered evil? Of course, to keep you away. And for non-decoders, I don't care what accoutrement you wear. If you're not into decrypting crypts, I don't know what to tell you, my friends, but yeah, just wanted to share that.
Got to practice your sea walking, y'all.
Your sea walk. Can you walk on the sea, y'all? Are you light enough to run across the sea?
So, Silas, I thought had a fun thought when you were mentioning hunter-gatherers. I was thinking of hand-togetherers. And
and it's funny, Gabe, you've heard all this from me before, so I'm just sharing it to a new group. So Gabriel's like, I've heard all this from Ronan before, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, go ahead, my friend.
So hand-togetherers, hunter-gatherers. The hand-togetherers are the prey, and the hunter-gatherers are the predators, right? So there's an anode-cathode from the hand-togetherers versus the hunter-gatherers, right? The predators and the prey.
Absolutely, and the even that idea of the anode and cathode, so the negative charged particle and the positive charged particle,
right.
This still establishes this idea of that's inherent to both the Eridanus, because you have the current, but you also what maintains the current, almost like a Gauss rifle, like how that functions with the two again a negatively and positively charged electromagnetic coil system. It's what pushes the current of the projectile along the barrel. So it's similar to the current of the Eridanus, right? You have the two opposing dialectics. By the way, this is how the fiat currency works as well. So it's all based on double bookkeeping. So again, you can't have the fiat currency system without having both the creditor and the debtor. And both of them establish a synthesis, which, of course, the Kabbalist or the financier exploits, to basically alchemically re-envision the world, right? As we're seeing. You brought up as well the Donal or Donal, and that may link as well to the lion's tail of Denimbola.
Yes.
Which I believe. Again, I'm not necessarily a an expert in astronomy, but I believe that links to the Lion's Gate formation, which occurs every so often. That occurred during 2001, the event, that very special event with the two pillars, should we say, the gateway year. Wink, wink, nod, nod. I believe that was also the sky at night on that date showed the Lion's Gate constellation pattern. It also showed Jupiter as the lightning bolt in the middle of the Gemini twins as well, interestingly. And there was a few other weird astronomical alignments that day, which of course have symbolic connotations too. The Denibola as well also contains the word Ebola, which I've always been perplexed by that. If there's a connection there, I'm unsure, but
yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
Ball, of course. Every time I hear a ball, I hear a ball. Real quick, and again, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but I just love this. One of my friends, Mystic Anon, he was saying how 2035 is like the final year of innovation, right? And he has that based on, I forget what astrology is involved or eclipses. But basically after 2035, all this technological stuff that we see, as ghetto as it may seem, like it seems fancy, but it's actually kind of ghetto, that it will end in 2035. Technologically wise.
Yeah. So 2, 3, 5 are the first 3 prime numbers. They're also the axial tilt of the Earth, allegedly. And it also encodes BCE, which is an age, is a signifier of an age. 2, 3, 5.
What? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, bro.
That's my we rock with powerful beings. I will be writing that down.
That's a good one, ain't it? The first 3 prime numbers.
Yeah.
Ronan, if you care to, I did a show with Chance Garton and John McHugh. And John McHugh is next level, y'all. I highly recommend everything he's done. But on that episode I did with Chance and John McHugh and one other fella who I forget his name, is also a scholar, we went in deep on the 2, 3, 5. I think you'll dig that episode if you care to, Ronan.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy. So Silas, I love that you keep coming back to Eridanus. You know, I think that the Eridanus is so underappreciated.
Gabriel, the gentleman I just mentioned, literally just texted me a message. Just now.
Snap!
Literally.
That's awesome.
Again, goosebump fever. Let's go. Shout out Spirit. We're in interesting times, my friends. Call it a coincidence. That's up to you. But Gabriel, please. But literally, I just mentioned him. He freaking texted me. Haven't heard from him in like 2 days. He just texted me just now.
Wow. That's great. So yes, this Eridanus, one of my favorite aspects. So it's the dancer. It's the Eridanus is an anagram for dancer. And strangely, you'll notice her hair in this star card in the Thoth deck is looking a lot like the ribbon on the world card in the Rider-Waite deck. Does that look familiar, Silas? Her hair?
Yes, the cyclone, the coil of serpent. Yeah,
right.
Or the coiled serpent, rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can actually take the Eridanus and superimpose it onto this card, and it's a solid fit. So dancer, Eridanus, this in my work through the symposium and the muses, this is Terpsichore, the muse of dance. And she's also hanging out on the Hierophant card in the Thoth deck, because at the foot of the Hierophant, there's this little Isis woman. Well, at the foot of the Orion constellation is the Eridanus River flowing down from his feet. And so I just love that you keep coming back to this, and especially the way we were describing civic design and the way a city is, the layout of a city, because I have discovered that that the location right there at the end of the Eridanus and the phoenix and the hydrus is a male water snake, not to be confused with the more popularly well-known hydra, female water snake over in Virgo and Libra. This is a male water snake, and he's extremely far south. And in art, his head is always bloody, as though he's a circumcised penis. This red-headed serpent is the male snake, but it's also might be some kind of animal specifics. But I just want to share that at the runoff of this river, I have found in mythology that so many stories end at this location in the stars. Like I can track myths through the stars, and so many of the stories, they have sanctified the runoff of the Eridanus River. And I believe that in the Plato's Republic, the story of the symposium, at the end of the night, after the symposium is over, Socrates just walks off into the sunset and goes to the bathhouse. And the bathhouse is going to most likely be the Fornax constellation, which is on one side of Eridanus. And across the street from the bathhouse in civic design is generally the whorehouse. This will be the Horologium constellation. Horologium and Fornax frame the Eridanus River. The Horologium needs the water to run the water clock, and the Fornax needs the water to run the chemistry set.
I'm writing these directions down for a friend. Keep going. Where's the what house? Okay,
yeah, buddy. Yeah,
listening.
man. Can't you see how important these signs and symbols are? If you want to get what you want, if you want cleanliness and if you want fornication, you go to Fornax to get dirty. Or no, excuse me, I got that wrong. You go to Horologium to get dirty, where you pay for an hour of service, and then you go across the street, which is the Eridanus River. Or if you're in a Mithraeum, you would go under the street in a Mithraeum to go over to the bathhouse on the other side of the Eridanus River. So civic design is also interdependent with these stars. And so the moment at the end of the symposium, when Socrates goes to the bathhouse, I'm watching him walk down the Eridanus River and turn right.
And it's also as well that idea of the autumnal equinox of the Golden Gate. Again, he's walking into the twilight, but is it a twilight or is it the dawn? So it's
right, totally.
Yeah, and remember as well the dancer Nataraja, the lord of the dance, which was obviously the famous Shiva statue or monument. That's also at CERN. But that idea, what you're seeing with the Nataraja, it also encodes the hexagram too, is that idea of the almost the heavenly light of Orion making manifest through perception the world itself. And of course, the world itself is established through this process of what we can generally term creative destruction, right? This is why you have Ordo ab Chao, order out of chaos, and all of this. You mentioned, the whore or the horologium. I believe the whore of Babylon, we were talking about Typhon and this sort of amalgam you were referencing way back in our conversation. She, of course, the whore of Babylon, Babylon the Great, Mystery Babylon, she is on. She rides that of the 7, or is it the 10-headed beast? I forget now.
I think 7-headed and 10-crowned. Maybe?
7-headed and 10-crowned. That's the one. Yes. So again, we've got the 17 again of the star tarot card. Yeah, we have the 7 of the lower Sephira and the 10 of the entire Sephira. You mentioned, she was also known. Whoredom in medieval Christendom, also in a theological or liturgical manner, is a metaphor as well. Yeah. Was seen as a sort of idolatry, but it was an idolatry that was conveyed towards an idolatress, so a goddess that you would enshrine or enthrone. this also may link to the Sciatic Isis, the veiled Isis. It may perhaps even link to Shekinah in the Kabbalistic theology. It may also link to Nukva, which is somewhat synonymous. There are distinctions between Shekinah and Nukva. And it also may link to the, I believe she's called the Mata Kala, or the Dark Mother. Again, Kali is another term for that. So it's like what you see at the end of Civilizations, and sociologically, what you tend to find is if you had at the beginning of Civilization a toxic masculinity which conquered everything, at the end you tend to have a toxic femininity. So again, this is what this is relating to in a sociological sense, right? But you also mentioned the fornax as well, and that links to brain anatomy. So you have the body of the fornax, which I believe is the two pillars that protect. Yeah, it's the anterior. It's the two pillars that connect to the hippocampus, and it protects the thalamus of the brain. And the thalamus is that of, in Greek it means inner chamber. So literally the holy of holies, right? So the temple is basically man. It's the mind of man. This is what you basically will find if you go through Masonry or any mystery religion, right? The Hierophant, from the Greek, the revealer of the sacred, he will reveal to you that, in fact, the idea of God, the idea of the upper chambers, the idea of heaven, the idea of the earth is contained within oneself, right? One is a microcosm of the grander macrocosm. The fornax means something else, but I forget the etymology of it. I have it somewhere in the notes, but that's also C-shaped. So you have the three as well. There's a few other things as well, but when, for example, when you see in Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy, and the interesting thing about Divine Comedy from the Latin means to eat. So it's, again, this idea of the charioteer and the food for the gods and the motion and all of this. But louche is another term you could relate to that. But he, to get
Paying
out of
attention.
hell, yeah, exactly. Paying attention. The focus on the lila, the divine or cosmic stage performance. Yeah. But to get out of hell, Dante has to climb 33 steps, which correlates with, of course, the 33 vertebra of the spine. That also links with the serpent, by the way, if you look at a side profile view of the brain and the spine. And then he reaches the upper chambers or heaven. You have the same thing in Masonry too, by the way, once you reach the 33rd degree, the honorary degree, which you can't learn just based on pure memorization of regimented behaviors and regimented drills, if you will, of the rituals. You actually have to know it on a deeper, more fundamental level. Yeah, so just things to add there.
Solid, man.
Love it. I love it.
I heard a Mysterious Universe episode maybe 2 years ago that was focused on Dante Alighieri's biography. And it was really neat. And then at the very end of this Mysterious Universe episode, they started to describe a fellow archaeologist who had discovered a cavern on an island. I don't think it was Malta, but it was Malta adjacent, this island. And in this tunnel was all of the details from Dante's journey into the underworld laid out in chambers, in sequential chambers. In each chamber was an articulation of the different stages of Dante's journey into the underworld. And this guy put his whole life into discovering and corresponding the layout of this hidden cave and doing all of the legwork. And it's his big debut. He's going to go up on the in academia somewhere in Europe, and he's just about to announce that he has discovered that Dante Alighieri's poetry is actually a location, and you can go there and go through the movements progressively through this cave. It was so neat. And just when he's up on the podium and he's about to do this announcement to the world to tell everybody the Dante's actual location, and when he gets up to give a speech, all of a sudden the doors break into, and everybody is coming into his presentation, and they're announcing JFK just died.
Wow.
Totally destroys his presentation because nobody cares about Dante Alighieri anymore. JFK just died. And so his entire audience leaves. They just walked away. And he's about to present the most profound thing I've ever heard in a long time. And it just got lost in the wind because JFK died and nobody's paying attention to that stuff. Isn't that wild? Isn't that a wild story?
Yeah, it's very synchronistic as well, isn't it?
Yeah, man. So profound. Yeah, that's a Mysterious Universe on Dante Alighieri, probably 2 years ago, year and a half at least.
It's almost like the energies can be used during those times for something divinely inspired that's positive or negative, and that's why they pick those times to do the rituals, because they don't want something that goes against what their goals are to be presented on the world stage.
Right? You know, like, how about this? Like, I love that angle, Chris, that like he was about to do something really monumental in forwarding mankind's faith in mankind, right? That we could look back at Dante and be like, wow, that's more real than we would have ever imagined. So he was about to forward humanity. And we can't really say that the JFK thing was designed to rain on his parade, but we can say that the JFK thing was such a big dark cloud that, of course, his light was drawn to shine under the cloud. Does that make sense? I want to say I don't think JFK was directed at him. I think I think he was more likely directed at JFK.
It's almost like there's like it's just that understanding of that, the energy during that time period and those certain locations, and apparently whoever planned whatever was going on with the JFK ritual knew about this energy. This other guy may not have known about the energy, but he may have tapped into it accidentally, but he was just overshadowed because he's not the media.
Yeah, man. I would love to be able to say, where were you in 63? I was about to learn Dante Alighieri's secret headquarters underground.
I think you'd be surprised on the cheapness of one's see you later integrity. I mean, you could pay someone $50 right now to go light a fire in the woods, I bet. Just on, you know what I'm saying? So when it comes to
very true.
People sell their, I mean, that's on the low level, yes, but you'd be surprised. People sell their flipping everything, their inners, for what I would consider a pretty darn cheap price, like underselling themselves. And that includes, and scale that out to whatever quote unquote metric you wish to use. I believe, like what's the value of one's very being? $1 million, or I'll give you $200 and someone's gonna be like, sure. Or even at the highest levels, put on whatever accoutrement you wish, and you go, all right, I'll give you 20 million, and you'd be surprised. Like, I was willing to give you 2 billion, and you're gonna sell out your whole whatever, everything internal. And if you want to go even darker, get a black eye and get some who knows what enters your thing, and you're never the same again. But that's a different show, I think. But still, these perpetrators that we at least are aware of is, man, they sell themselves for cheap, and it scales all the way down. Go ahead, Gabe. You guys get it. I feel like,
yeah, buddy. Yeah, I got a great term for what you're describing, and I think this will empower everybody greatly. Perverse incentivization. Perverse incentivization is, like you said, 20
Ooh.
bucks, get a fire started when you need it for political ends.
That's
Perverse-
powerfully in a. It's powerful in the wrong direction I wish to go
Right.
in life.
Yeah, and this idea, this concept of perverse incentivization, it's kind of part of the life cycle of an empire. And I just learned about it, I don't know, in the last year. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, so often when I learn something new, I'm excited for what it informs going forward in my life, but I'm also a little alarmed to be like, I didn't know about this all along. How long has a perverse incentivization has been set in already? You know, when I hear the warning, I'm like, oh, should I look out to the future for this to happen? Or should I actually be looking to the past for when the frog water started boiling, right?
I was going to mention as well on the JFK thing, and this sort of links back to Orion, and even with the underworld idea, so that would link with Charon and the psychopomp notion. But if you look at Dealey Plaza, it's actually look at a bird's eye view of it. It's actually in the shape of a psi letter, the Greek psi letter,
Whoa.
and of course.
Wait, it's shaped like this?
Yes, like a W shape. Yes, exactly.
It's shaped like, I don't know.
Yes.
Or Lumiere from Beauty and the Beast, the dancing candle guy.
Well,
exactly, yeah.
And what was that? Pervase. What was the last second word? I forgot. Pervase. What was it?
No,
incentivization.
It's perverse. Perverse incentivization.
Oh, okay. Perverse incentivization. I'm trying to be fancy and say pervase. Let me ask you, 19-year-old Gabriel, would you succumb to perverse?
Oh yeah. I was perversely incentivizing at 19. But you know, it's
and
like
I interrupted Silas. I'm sorry. No,
no, it's all right, man.
Yeah, I think another example of the perverse incentivization was the burgers for the poke, donut for the poke, that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, donuts! How low? I mean, come on, guys.
And the alarming thing about this term is that's what I was trying to say. Like, just hear me out. Where I'm like, oh, I'm worried about it in the future because I just learned it. But how long has it already been going on? Now, there's also another question: how low can it go? Right? How low can it go? And I think, like, I consider myself a wannabe Renaissance man, right? And to be a Renaissance man is to ask yourself, how high can it go? How high can it go? How high can we lift our fellow man up? And that's where we're all aiming. That's where we wish our thoughts were pointing, right? But then we start looking around and we're like, oh shit. A lot of people have been down cycling for a long time. So I think putting the name to that demon, perverse incentivization, is empowering for all of us to get us going back to the Ariste, to what is great.
Absolutely. Hey guys, I have to dip out for work right now, but you guys, I'll leave this stream running if y'all want to keep going.
I'm good. I'm feeling it.
Yeah? You think it's time? What about you, Silas? You good?
Yeah, man. I'm going to have to head to bed.
All right. We definitely need to do this again ASAP.
Yeah. I want to share one quick thing while I'm on the air. The red heifer sacrifice is an anagram for safe, secure, and effective. That one is so profound. Especially like effective. There's a latent R right there. And that's all I need to make the anagram complete.
Love it. Love it. I'm so glad everyone came. I'm so glad you guys all hopped on last minute. I think this was a really productive discussion. And it was literally me and Silas went on late. I was going to try to go on at 1 with him and Shinobi. Wound up being like a little after 2. Just made it on. And I'm glad both of you joined us. I'm glad everyone in the chat joined us. And definitely let's do this again. Next time I'll make sure to throw out links to everyone if we do these random live streams so you can all join again. Because you guys, you both are always welcome.
Yeah, man. Big
And,
respect,
and
Silas.
Silas, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it was nice weaving with you, bro. Finally.
And next time, invite
was a
Armin
pleasure.
too,
Thank you.
Silas.
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure, guys. That was really great. I learned a great deal. A few things I didn't see, and it's good to get new perspectives and angles on these things, because you just constantly uncover things, as you delve further into the mystery of it all.
Absolutely. I said Armin. I mean Armand. Invite Armand next time too. I mean,
Yeah, I will. I'll send you his details. I think he wants to set up he'll set up a discussion on his side with you and that.
awesome. But yeah, anyone, Ronan, you got anything else you want to add?
Yeah, man. I mean, so much love. I mean, what a gift. I appreciate you shooting out the signal flare. I saw it, dude. I'm like, all right, I'm on my way. And
He made it. He made it.
Yeah, I made it, man. And it was powerful. These like super beings here. And in the chat has been crushing it. I feel like the more Silas and I, we kind of, when you have like, you got to build chemistry, I don't care. Everyone's a champion. It's like, all right. And I feel like Silas and I made closer to being chemically being bounce passing vibes off.
Alchemically aligned.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I'm a guest and I appreciate everyone out there. Shout out to the chat. Massive love. Check out the Ronin experience, man. We get weird, man. It's like this, but I'm even more extra and I stay even more off topic and I interrupt even more. This is me on my best behavior because I'm someone else's channel. But just know my intentions are always to empower everyone. And I speak into the mirror, man. I love each and every one of you. So much gratitude, dude. You're awesome. And this has been an honor. I feel like we did cover a lot and rah, blah, blah, blah. You guys get it. Massive love and support the underground. And support yourself. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I add all your links to the bio or description below. Let's check out Ronan's channel. I do a show with him usually Saturday nights. Gabe, we do lives with PK. Probably be doing another one soon. Me and Silas do shows all the time. Silas has an awesome channel. Silas Speaks 3301. It's like Dissident is Gabe's. Bird, what is your actual handle, Ronan? It's Bird Dog.
Bird Dog 45. It's at Bird Dog 45.
Yeah. If you type in the Ronin experience, it pops up.
Yeah, and I did it because I was just coming on YouTube just to watch stuff. I wasn't doing anything, and then I just fired up the run, and then somehow it metamorphosized based on the cycles and the times and the luminaries into the Ronin experience. That's how that works. Bird Dog 45. But otherwise, Spirit will lead. I mean, Spirit's going to lead you to where you need to be led.
And I'll make sure those links are in the description anyway, so everyone
the
will
Ronin experience,
find it.
like mushrooms, they find you when you most need them. When you need them most.
Absolutely. Anyone else?
You're the best, dude. Chris, you're the best, man. Appreciate you, dog.
I love you guys. You guys are great. Thank you for coming on, everyone. If anyone else has anything to say, go ahead and say it, and then I'll pop this off.
Big love and respect.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Thank you.
Yeah, brother. Good talking to you, man. Good talking to all you guys. We'll talk soon.